Theory FNAF, and then I have to go to Discord, and then I have to share my screen, and I have to go to. Yeah, this works. All right.
Let me watch the screen share.
So which one are we doing? Are we doing like the full timeline?
The full timeline.
Okay, I think this is the first one. I think.
Oh, okay. I think you need to go to the ultimate goal one. Yeah.
That one.
Ultimate timeline.
Because it's all four. It's 4 different videos.
Okay.
Oh, the trolls, guys.
Today we end the torment. 19 books.
Are you ready?
Oh wait, I need to turn up my
Are you ready?
stream audio.
Are you ready?
Wait. Quick play.
Alright.
Today we end the torment.
Yeah, I can't hear for some reason. What?
Oh, I think I know why. Hang on. It's because it's bad. Hang on, I'll restream it. So I have to do this, I think.
Okay.
If I do this, I think it fixes it. Alright.
Today we end the torment.
Do you hear that?
I hear it now.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Adrian, Doodle, and Flair. Oh my god, it's Flair. Thomas B. Flair.
Thomas B. Flair, he's peeping the stream.
Oh my god. And it's Adrian
Oh my
R's
gosh.
here.
And
I'm
Adrian.
green.
Alright, so we're gonna mute Adrian. Server mute him. Alright. Now we can...
River mute him. No, Adrian. Yep, this is only featuring me, Adrian.
It's
Sorry
only
about
featuring
that.
Duckflop. I'm sorry, Adrian. It's only featuring Duckflop.
Today we end the torment.
All right,
19
we end the torment
books,
today.
11 games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment.
Yes, 8
the
years.
ultimate FNAF
The
timeline is
ultimate FNAF
finally
timeline.
complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together.
Dude, funny loss reference.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that...
Hang on. Can you do a hello, Internet? Welcome to Game Theory for us.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory.
Great job.
feels like a
Great
kid
job.
revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is
you imagine
big, my
doing
friends,
this
and
for
I
8
gotta
years?
admit, kind of nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this
Yeah.
franchise
I
since
couldn't imagine.
2018. Back in the
a
days when
lot.
Mike was the crying
actually
child,
finishing
Afton
a
coming
history
back was
project while
actually a
doing this.
surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something
Do you
like
know
this,
about
we've had
Fazgoo?
3 more massive games, the death and
Fazgoo.
revival of the
Oh,
FNAF
no.
movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly
no.
is why I'm here today. The lore at this point
The
is
lore!
complicated. It is full of speculation and
yeah.
theory, so to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel.
Should I keep watching this, or should I skip it to the actual timeline?
Just skip it to the actual start. Actually, no, just keep watching it. It's fine.
But when you look at the
Okay.
totality
I
of
was
this
making sure.
franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His
The man behind the
successes,
slaughter!
his failures,
The man
his
behind
rise
the slaughter!
becoming
Oh, it's
co-owner of
him!
one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being, the Afton era, William's decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything that happens after the Pizzeria Simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate 1 episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless, continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I
Real.
promise I'm gonna merge
Real.
all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just...
Oh wait, hang on. Can we skip the explanations?
I don't know.
Oh, we can't. Right, I forgot. It's 4 parts. I'm being DM'd by... Oh. Cool. I was being DM'd by Tyler.
just felt
Hyped.
like the best,
Hyped.
most satisfying, most complete way to do this.
Shout out
That
to
being said,
Tyler.
this is
Shout out to
still
Tyler.
about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, we're also putting in a handy little
the
graphic in the
controversial
bottom left-hand corner of the
bits, of
screen,
course.
which will show
Yeah.
thumbnails, video
He's an
titles, books, and
android.
any other
He's a
citations that
robot.
we need throughout the video. So if you wish to understand that specific statement in more detail, you know
Matt gave birth
exactly
to
where we've taken
Springtrap.
it from. That way you can look into those details
Real.
for yourself.
Do you know
So
about that
sit back,
one?
grab some popcorn or your
Might have to
pitchforks if
read
you're the
that
type
book.
to get
Seems
upset when I say
pretty
something
interesting.
controversial,
I know,
and make
right?
sure that you
It's a pretty interesting
subscribe,
book.
since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to
Pretty
come back
interesting
to a few times in order to fully dissect.
The
Without
books are
any
so
more
bad.
waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended
Oh,
into
God.
madness, and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life.
Was it the man behind the slaughter?
Our story
think
begins
it
not
was-
in the
I think it was the
1980s,
man behind
or
the slaughter.
even in the
Oh my
1970s,
God.
but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression.
Good evening,
and people were in
gamers.
desperate need
Hello,
of cheap
gamer boy.
entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the state's hit.
Wait, that was Gamer Boy, right? I'm making sure that was okay. It was
Yeah,
Gamer
it's
Boy.
Gamer Boy.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, I'll make sure I don't get any more DMs. I'm gonna switch my status to Do Not Disturb. All right. Continue.
Hardest, fourth highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes
seen this
out in
video, by the way.
California. People
This is,
were
like, the
tired
only
and
part
they were
that's kinda
hungry,
stupid.
But as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits: a simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered
go,
all over
Fredbear.
town,
Fredbear,
featuring
woo!
an animated bear drawn in the
Fredbear,
popular
woo!
pie-eyed cartoon
Or-
style for characters at
or-
the time.
or-
He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got
Real?
to see
Bear.
dancing bears at
Bear.
large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey,
Bear,
where the
bear,
tickets would
bear,
go for
bear,
about
bear,
$1.
bear,
That's
bear.
$1 without food.
Oh,
but
Carla
this
Rock.
was
It's
a
a 50
smaller
fast
show,
bear.
like the type from the Vaughn Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a
Bam,
mere
bam.
50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents like to call him William Afton. The bear could dance. It could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear
Wait,
come
I
to life? The
think-
best he could do
I
was
think I
using
know who that guy
rudimentary
is.
costumes.
I think I've
William
heard of
was
that guy
inspired by
before.
the work of
He's the
Walt
man behind
Disney,
the slaughter.
who throughout the
I think
50s
he's
and
the man
60s
behind
was
the slaughter.
pioneering the use of mascot
I think he's
suits
the man
throughout his
behind the
theme
slaughter.
park. The
I
big
think he's the
innovation,
imposter
suits
from Among
with
Us.
5 fingers. This allowed the
God.
performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guest.
Oh, ad.
No, no.
No. All right, we're back.
As opposed
The
to the
Eve
older models
online
where the
experience.
arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring
Or-
Fredbear to life. To appeal to the
Fredbear.
kids and for
Or-
copyright
or-
reasons, he changed
or-
Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish
Oh, hey,
yellow
my
bear
favorite
with a
food.
purple hat and bow
Pizza.
tie. But feeling like one character
You're
wasn't
basic.
enough,
W-
he
W
added
design
another
choice,
friend,
actually.
a yellow
I agree,
rabbit
I
with a
agree.
purple vest and matching tie named
Not
Bonnie the
W
Bunny. Well,
design
Fredbear
choice.
was
W
certainly
design.
his
He-
first
he
love.
sells drugs
Bonnie
in the
was
back parking
extra
lot.
special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough with seams and stitches visibly showing.
Scratch?
But
Wait a
it was the
second,
best
it's
that
the
he could do.
website
And
you-
know what?
you
It was
build
just enough.
games?
Bonnie and Fredbear would perform
All
on
right,
stage
man.
to
No
small
wonder.
but enthusiastic
All right,
crowds.
buddy.
Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to
Oh
all the
my
kids,
God, he's
delighting
so
and inspiring them in the
chunky.
exact way that
It's
he
'cause
had
it's
been delighted
8-bit.
and
All-
inspired
everything's
so many
chunky.
years
It's
ago.
8-bit.
And things could have ended there. That
That's
could have
FNAF
been the
3.
end
You
to
can't
the
expect
story.
it to
could
not
have
be
been
chunky.
perfect,
Or-
but not
or-
so
one
old.
thing. Other people saw the success of his
Or-
idea and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first,
Smash.
but obviously he wasn't the
Smash.
best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this
He's
restaurant
prideful,
was
whoa.
able to
Dave-
do the thing that
Dave
he
Miller
always wanted to
style.
do. Make the
Dave Miller
animals
style.
actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way,
Thanks
had
the guy behind
harnessed
the slaughter
power
himself.
of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's party world was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on.
Yes,
That one
Mr.
was more of a
Hippo!
joke for parents, but it was the
Oh.
main stage that was for the kids.
go.
A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why did it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to
bear.
call this thing
Unbearable,
Ned Bear,
really.
a direct copy of
Ned
his
Bear.
own Fred Bear.
Never.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness.
Sorry
A
for
bitterness that would
coughing,
only
I'm
grow
still
over the
kinda
next
sick.
couple of years as families
Unfortunate.
continued to choose Chica's party world over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with
Chica's
the
party
appeal
world.
of the robots. Eventually, his
Dang,
restaurant
one
would go
guy in
bankrupt,
costume
only to
couldn't
get bailed
compete
out
with
by,
robots.
of course, Henry Emily. Another insult. Another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now
Smile.
merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily
Fair.
identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that.
And he's
This new
golden.
restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises
about
merged
some
into
Buster's
one,
Gold,
with
bro,
Pig
my God.
Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
That said, not all the characters were
That
winners.
explains-
The reception
that
to some
explains the
characters was
magnet.
just
No, it
mediocre,
don't.
so
Not
they
at all.
faded away into the dumpster, storage
Oh, it
units,
doesn't.
and retro
But
budget
yeah,
tech
yeah,
stores
yeah,
of
yeah.
It kinda
lost
technically does,
nostalgia.
but
that,
like-
that explains
Step
why
back
the
into
magnet.
limelight.
That explains the
There
magnet, because
was
there's
no
a glam rock
other
Mr. Hippo.
as though
Glam rock
would
Hippo.
fare much better
Glam
with a
rock
new
Hippo.
pirate fox, as well as a blue guitar playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big it would spawn
Bonnie
its own
Bunny.
cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In
Business
the end,
was a
Fredbear
boom.
and
Crying
Bonnie's
child.
popularity would be so
Yeah,
strong
Crying
that
Child,
they
don't
would
worry
be
about
able
him.
to support the
He's
Fredbear's
not important
Family
yet.
Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off
It's about
a
the
sister
business.
location
Business is a
dedicated to their
booming.
friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast
cholera,
of
Freddy
characters.
Fazbear?
Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear.
Bear.
Business was good, and Afton was happy, mostly.
No,
It
no,
did
his name is
bother
just
him
Bear.
that the one original
Bear.
character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter. He had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft
Purple
of
girl.
robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be
Or-
given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why
Trust me.
We're back.
there? Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just
Huge
locked to the
ideas.
stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact
Huge
with kids?
ideas.
What if his
Such
mascot
as
suit
killing
could
children.
become
No,
animatronics?
not
What if
yet.
you could
No,
use more than
spoilers,
just rigid
dude.
metallic skeletons?
You
Why not
ruined the
experiment with
movie.
Tubes and wires that would give the animatronics
Ruined
fluidity
it.
and flexibility
Ruined it.
while
Right.
still
Ruined it.
providing
Soiled
the
it. Soiled
possibilities
it.
for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had
Hey, yo.
started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said,
Now, do you want to watch the explanation, or do you want to go to the next one?
Watch the explanation.
Okay.
Music man!
Music
The
man!
more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's Singin' Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without him just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the Singin' Show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's Singin' Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up.
Hello.
The Fredbear Singin' Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story. That Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very
It's
much
stupid how he
not
goes,
a
like-
Springtrap suit. This is something
Yeah,
much
the
more rudimentary.
VR,
It
the
came at a time before
VR
animatronics
version
were a part of
of
the
a
story.
suit
That's why I
is the one
suspect
we're
that it
gonna
was
go
actually
with.
the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the
Yeah, he
way
did it on
that he
purpose,
sees
totally.
himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment.
Hey there,
to it.
buddy.
So
Wanna
while
smoke weed?
Fredbear seems to have
Hey,
started
kid,
as someone
wanna grab
else's
some
creation,
lettuce?
Golden Bonnie was uniquely William, giving him a personal connection. And that's not
Spaghetti
all.
sauce
In this
is
whole
watching.
franchise, only
Right?
one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares.
Honey
Even
pepper?
Golden Freddy, Fredbear was a
Nightmares.
5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the
Nightmares
graphic
behind
novel,
Honey
before
Pepper.
he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the
Oh,
elephant in the
the-
room, the
or-
literal
or-
elephant,
or-
Orville
Lord.
elephant, as well as the rest of the
Lord.
melodies. For a while now, I've suspected
Hello,
that the music
show.
melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the
When was
roster.
the last time we
Especially
stuck? I think
Ned
it was the
Bear, which
Roblox
is just
one.
so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're going to have to justify with any mediocre melodies mentioned. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs,
Yes.
implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are
Hippo.
supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off, Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's
Who's in the
design
wrong?
aesthetic.
A
So it
murderer
just
who's killed
has
many
to be
children?
him. I don't
Or
think
some
Henry's
guy
doing
who
this
took the
maliciously.
concept
He
of a
doesn't strike me as the
talking
type.
bear?
He was likely building the robots at the orders of
Talking
someone else
bear
that was
guy,
running a rival
obviously.
restaurant
I agree, I
franchise.
agree.
But that's enough motivation to
Talking
start
bear guy.
Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the
fair.
Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and
And
William's
the age-
relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back.
What do
at
you
this
say,
one, and
Adrian?
seems like the
Oh, wait,
recently
completely
released character
silent.
He's
Encyclopedia
muted.
has backed up
I muted him.
all of this speculation. I've had this timeline
Yeah, he
written for
literally
about
sent me a
month now, but I've
message
also
saying-
been holding off a bit to see what
He
wrenches
he
this
sent
new
he sent me a
encyclopedia would
message
throw
saying
into it.
I'm
And on this
I
particular
freaking
point, I gotta say, it
been
seems like they
server
might
muted
actually
all
have
because I
nailed it.
threw
They
so hard
actively call out
yesterday.
the suspicious
throw.
similarities to the main Fredbear crew.
Wait,
Quote
what
from one of the
happened
pages.
yesterday?
Ned Bear looks like an
We played Among Us
imitation.
and Adrian
Altered
was
We were
version
playing
of
Among Us.
Copyright issues. I don't know about you, but
And
that
I was
seems to
and I was
imply that
chasing
we're
and I was
right on
chasing
money.
Fighter
Knowing
Dude.
all all of this, at one point the franchises
was
had to have
chasing
merged.
Spider
That's
Dude.
really the only way that you
So
get
you-
Mr.
you were
Hippo
the
from the
fungus and
rival
that's what you
franchise as
needed?
part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real
Dude,
life.
it's
Chuck E.
history of
Cheese, it's
Cheese,
Charles
with
Entertainment
two rival
Cheese.
restaurants, each with their own
Chuck E.
cast of
Cheese.
characters merging to become one
Charles
unified
Entertainment
brand. Again, we've gone into that in
Cheese.
detail with other videos, just wanted to remind that here. But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World
smash Charles
exists. It
Entertainment
is
Cheese.
mentioned in the source code teasing sister
Same.
location. So
Dude,
it is
Chica's
out
Party
there
World.
somewhere and doesn't fit
What's
cleanly
the
anywhere.
age?
Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch
Probably.
and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with a theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away.
That's
That's
so
also
cool.
why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is
You can
therefore
smash her with a
missing in
hammer.
sister location. A detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are very spread out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for
You know what
years.
Scott Cawthon-
So with all
It's
of
him,
that in
really.
mind, my friends, we can close the
Hear me
book
out.
on the foundation
Hear
of
me out.
Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing
Bonnie's
parts of this
gone.
entire timeline situation. Part 2, the Afton era. I promise, it
It's time for the Afton era.
The Afton era.
You guys ready for the Afton era? This one's way longer. The rest of the videos are way longer than the first one. This is the most simple.
So much lore.
Yeah. Oh, there's an entire video of it.
Oh, I seen an ad of this.
Yeah.
Welcome to Disney's new
Hello,
movie.
Internet!
Witch.
Welcome to Game Theory, and
Welcome to
officially
Game
page
Theory.
7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered the origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life. and the infuriating
This will be very
moment
long,
his dream
probably,
is
so you can
copied by a
play- you can
rival
watch as
restaurant
much as you want. You can
franchise
just play
looking to
Among Us, I
steal
don't care.
away his
Like,
success.
what?
The merger of the two franchises
Among Us.
results in William
I know,
meeting
Spaghetti with
Henry,
Sauce was
a
asking
brilliant
me a
designer with a
question
knack
in
for
my chat.
robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish,
Working
spawning
together, they
popular
make Fredbear's
Saturday morning
flourish.
cartoon shows,
That's
toy
the last
lines, and
game with
spin-off
Duck.
restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we
Then
left
wanna
him,
play
Afton
new
was
Among Us.
thriving. The world of robotics opening his eyes to
Among
new
Us
and
and
exciting ways of bringing
Five Nights at
characters to
Freddy's
life.
were
Bringing
actually
things to life.
working
Yeah, that was
together.
his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very
Oh,
passion that would
boy.
mutate, twist, and morph.
Among Us
from here
crossover
on
and
out
Among
the
Us.
story.
Single
Because with life,
most
there is
stupid
inevitably
thing
death,
I've
something
ever
that
heard.
Afton would become intimately
Yeah.
familiar with. But before
That's what I'd
Afton
say.
acquaints himself
I
with
agree.
death, I want
I
you to
always
take
say
some
stupid
time to
things.
acquaint
You can't-
yourself with
you
our
can't really be
newest
surprised
channel.
with that.
Get ready. History and fashion.
You gotta skip through the channel plug.
Style. Control.
Don't worry about style
Fashion
theory.
theory
Don't worry about
plug.
style theory. We don't worry about style
Honestly.
theory. We don't worry about style theory. We don't talk about style
Ability
theory.
on this channel.
Screw
In the
style,
shower.
We're here for the
Scout
lore.
episode.
We don't like
We're
style.
gonna
We
do
like
all of
the
us over-
lore.
Looking complete our dark in a hurry.
The Afton era.
1983,
Afton era.
business was booming with two whole
Business is
restaurant
booming.
franchises running. Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit. And
There
fair
it
enough,
is.
it was symbolic
Bear.
of the partnership
Oh, it's
between these
Springlock
two
suit.
men. A human suit as designed by William.
Oh, it's
Henry,
Markiplier.
a free
I'm just gonna
Henry
call it
style
every
robot. But
animatronic
because it was
bear.
still new tech with kinks to work out,
Guys,
the
where's
rollout
Markiplier?
was
You missed it.
limited,
There's
restricted
Markiplier,
only
I
to the
swear.
Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than
Is that
ever.
the
He didn't have
bite?
time to be
Yo,
a full-time
guys, is
parent,
that
so he
bear?
designed a
That's what
cam
it is.
system where
How's
cameras
it
and
going?
speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's
Is that
favorite
Iron Man?
toy,
We're watching
psychic
the Game
friend
Theory.
Fredbear. I mean,
We're learning the
plushy
lore right now.
Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise
Yeah,
a
we're
kid,
just
he
setting it
also
up
left
for the movie.
childcare duties
Live
to
on
his
stream
eldest
watching
son,
the lore
Michael.
to learn
There
the-
was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his
I
younger
could watch
brother
the
by
FNAF
scaring him with
I
a
could
box
watch
of
the
babies and
FNAF
constantly
movie
left
for
him
free
behind.
on
William
Peacock.
watched all of it from his
You're
cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day
not
after
gonna be
all.
the same
Except
in the
Michael's
movie.
torment
Oh, I
didn't
thought-
stop
I thought he
there.
said
Angry
kids would be
thoughts
kids.
would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother
Real.
by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just
I can't
so
hear
happened
Shamar
to
at
be
all,
on
which
this
is really
crying
funny.
child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared
I don't
little
know why,
brother
but
and
he's
make him
really
do
low
the
on
one
Discord
thing
for
that
me.
he was
What?
terrified of doing, getting close to the
Have you
animatronics.
ever
That
tried
would be
turning up
embarrassing
my
for the
volume?
kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just
Oh
as
no,
they were
guys,
putting that
it's gonna
scared,
happen.
squirming boy
Guys,
to Fredbear's lips,
was
the mouth snapped shut.
was that the point of any
The
son?
bullets inside the body had been
Was this the
triggered by the
point of
boy's
any
No
movements.
way!
They'd immediately clamped
Bear.
down. The wriggling
No
stopped.
way,
The boy
Bear.
went limp.
Killed
It was just a
Bear.
prank.
Oh my god.
The boy was taken to the hospital and
Bear.
was immediately given an IV.
It was actually the
flowers
bite
and
83.
pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too
Bear
severe.
is in the
As the younger
hospital.
brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and
No
flimsy
way,
apology.
is that
But his
Bear?
father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm
And that is that also Bear?
It's also Bear.
Mobius, I know you're trying to help me.
Don't worry about Morbius. Don't worry about Morbius.
and
All right, don't
committed
worry about.
promise to a dying
You're not
son.
worried
You're
about it.
broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what,
I heard that
William's
before.
son would live again. It would just take time. Time
Is that
that
the bite
right
of
now he
87?
just didn't have.
It was
His
the bite
young
of
Let's
son's
look at
heart
Bear.
flatlined.
Except it wasn't,
The boy
actually.
faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurant.
know who
Kids
else
were now
bit
required to wear
87?
security wristbands to prevent
Bear,
anyone
Bear,
from getting
Bear.
outside without parental permission.
Shut up,
Any kid
bro.
who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette
No.
on strings
No
that
way,
could fly
it's
around on
Bear.
rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael
I got
constantly
him.
leaving the
I've
restaurant
destroyed
without his
him.
brother.
I've
In the wake of
destroyed him,
Fredbear's
Oh my god, it's Bear.
lock failure, all the
Bear.
hybrid
Hey,
suits were getting
phone
retired,
guy.
locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet
Oh.
another tough pill
They
to swallow
locked
after
away
all the hard work
the
that he and
string lock
Henry had put
suits.
into them. William would
And
eventually
they
bury the
burn in a
boy's small body in a
fire.
remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his
Dang,
son
that was
Michael
hot.
was far worse, complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed
Being
feet
haunted
digging into the
by the
red
80
earth.
by
The
the bite
words,
of
"It's
87?
me," ringing through
For
Michael's
real.
ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there.
drink away
The
your
bar gave him a
problems.
place to
Yeah, I agree.
think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had
Greg,
stolen his
you
idea
see
for an
that
animal-themed
Fazbear
restaurant.
opening
How they'd
his
cut
mouth?
his
You need to
character out of the
comment that
cartoon when
Gregory,
everyone
I know
else
who
was
you
there.
are
How
for you,
Henry had
but trust me,
humiliated
I
him
need
by
you to
buying
do
him out
it.
of bankruptcy. And now there was
watching
a
the
son.
thing, man,
Henry
come
had
on.
taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of
Who's
his
got a
mind,
Porsche?
only to find someone else
Yeah, he did.
waiting.
He got a
Henry's
purple
daughter,
thing.
Charlie, locked outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through
Uh-oh,
the window.
guys.
Find some
Uh-oh,
other
guys.
problem to fix. But then Afton
It's
got an
purple
idea.
guy.
Uh-oh,
Beautifully
guys.
awful idea. This was his
Just
chance
the moment
to get
Walter
back
White
at the
became the
that
man
had
behind the slaughter.
humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and
He's
now
the
Henry's
one who knows.
robotic
Man behind
suit
the
had
slaughter
killed
the
his
whole
son. It was
time.
time for
was
William
just
to
a
do some
plot
killing of
twist.
his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William
Oh no,
attacked
guys!
Charlie in the
It's a live
background.
leak. There's a live leak in the corner. Look out! No.
Free. The
Oh my
years
God,
of resentment
is
and
it really
bitterness
easy from
trapped in
that
his
too?
heart
Oh
finally
my God,
released
it
in a
can't be
moment of
like
pure
I'm
unapologetic
dreaming.
evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts. And in that moment, William became a killer.
Real.
He dropped Charlie's lifeless body.
He's just like me
broke
for
home,
real.
Forced to
Oh, damn,
confront
it's
his family
William
problems
Afton
later
was in my
that
chat.
night.
I didn't notice.
Appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him, all for him, right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls?
Smash.
When there is music in my halls.
When there is music in
Can you pause it real quick?
Absolutely.
Wait,
What's
did
up?
somebody get scooped by
Wait, so
Canada?
like,
Yes.
they, not Scott, fuck. William made the nightmares by turning them into giant things of plastic, which
And then he used sound.
and he used sound to make the kid think that
Make the kid
they're
think they were
actual-
nightmares. Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
hell?
That's what the lore is.
Wait,
That's what the lore is.
Wait, I have a
Lord.
question.
I can't argue with the Lord, David.
that's I know that's how the lore is, but it's still hilarious.
It's so bad.
Like
Question.
What's your
like
question,
imagine like the sound just stops working for a second and he's like, this is plastic.
It's
Yeah, but
just
then
a
imagine the
plastic
sound
like
keeps working again.
plastic.
What's gonna happen? He's gonna
It's
be
still
like,
scary.
"Ah!"
Like if you watch
mean-
your if you
Who
watch
got
your
scooped
brother.
Again? I forgot.
What'd you say, Shamar?
I said, who got scooped again?
That's not happened yet, but it's Michael. I don't know why you're asking that. man.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Bro, Jack,
Sandhand is ugly.
Jack, get out of here.
Damn.
Jack, get out of here.
Oh, like a real reason, or like?
No, I'm just doing it because it's funny.
Oh.
We're watching FNAF Lore.
What?
We're gonna learn the FNAF lore for the movie.
Fuck God. I'm trying to learn the Spanish.
Shall we continue or shall we? Any more questions?
Please no.
Continue.
All right, let's go.
Continue.
No more joy, an empty tomb.
Just creepy voice line.
This looks
And despite
so
her
real.
repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done.
That's so
he had
true.
gotten a taste of what
Why-
it felt
why
like to
does the
be
purple guy look
unleashed,
like a
what it felt
British
like to be
person?
free.
He is
Charlie's
British.
murder had unlocked something in him,
Oh.
and he wanted more.
I know.
I hope you die in a fire.
Oh my god, is that the bite of Halloween?
Shut up. Shut up.
June
Kick 'em.
26th, 1985.
I need to make money
Putting
on
the
YouTube. I
gold
gotta buy
in the
YouTube
suit,
Premium.
He lured
I
the
gotta get-
children
I gotta
one
buy
by
YouTube
one
Premium,
to the
bro.
back room of the pizzeria. with
I gotta
doors
see this
open.
FNAF movie.
First, he was cautious.
gotta.
He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had
You
died.
want
He would
cake?
ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
I have seen everything.
But where to hide the
Everything.
bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would
What?
see him. He had to
you
hide
not-
them in a place
Isaac, are
where
you
they'd never
confused?
be found and where they
Yeah,
never
because
leave the
people will
building.
fucking
Stuff
talk
him
to
in
you.
the suit.
Stuff
Love it.
He stuffed
inside
David
the
suit?
suits.
Just pushed them in the
All those
suit.
things anyway, except for
Zach,
him.
can you
And so
pause it?
Susie
Yeah, what's your deal?
Like, what happened to Susie again? Like, did
She got
like,
murdered.
die?
He
She
lured
got
her in,
murdered
and
and
she-
then
and he
stuffed
killed
in
her.
the suit.
By
Yeah,
who?
I think she
By
got
William
murdered
Afton.
and stuff.
William. Oh my god.
The guy who made the shit and all that?
Yes, William Afton, the Purple Man.
Yeah, and then I think
No,
she got
William
stuffed into
Afton is
Marinette.
like the creator,
You're getting
but he's
muted,
not
Shamar,
like
for
the
being
creator
dumbass.
of the suit.
So the suit killed Susie.
No, William killed Susie, and then he hid the dead body in the suit,
Okay, got
and
it.
it was hidden in Chica, Shamar, not the puppet. All right, I want to unmute everyone. Everyone can talk now after I to figure out how to unmute. Ah, there we go. Welcome back, Adrian. You get to. I'll slow your volume.
Hope you learned your lesson, buddy.
Hope you learned the lesson. All right, we're gonna continue now.
he would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would
This is
come
gonna take like
next,
3
but it
hours. I
was
feel
easy.
like
It was
just 'cause how many
too
times we're
easy.
gonna pause.
And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being
No.
kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself
God,
get
whose soundboard
violent.
do I need
Too
to
violent.
I'll just
I muted everyone's soundboard already.
Throw a bag over his head.
I think it would be Adrian's
Drag it into the
soundboard.
back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others. He'd let himself go too far. That one he should.
One you
With
should
no
not
more
have
active
killed.
animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long forgotten yellow Fred,
Shut up.
now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son.
I already
was
muted your soundboard. I can't hear anything about idiots.
naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding
You guys
security
are
footage of the
idiots.
golden mascot suit lured.
You can mute soundboards, bro. You can mute soundboards. It's not that hard, man.
No, I already muted them. I don't know when they keep doing it.
Just say, fighter, do.
That was Sandhands? That was you, Jack? Oh, it's I-Man. I didn't realize this. Okay, that makes sense.
Just say, fighter, do.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, look, it's Jewish.
I can mute everyone's soundboard now. It's unfortunate. Well, I didn't even do that. That was just him. All right, I'm gonna go
I'm
back.
sorry,
now.
Zach.
I
I'm
muted
sorry,
everyone's
Zach.
soundboard. It's fine. Adrian can spam on
Thank you,
everyone's
thank
soundboard.
you. I appreciate you for that. Thank you.
All right, we're going back.
Luring kids to the back. but
William
they
got
didn't
sent to jail.
They had
William
no
got sent to jail.
bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had was circumstantial at best, and so he walked away a free man. But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security
does
system
Chica
in the
have
form
such
of new
thick thighs?
animatronics. Toy animatronics.
'cause
Inspired
Henry
by
was
the
kind
toys
of,
that they had been selling
spicy.
years ago. But
Oh
these
my
guys,
God.
these were special. They were a new breed of
Henry
robot
wanted-
with facial recognition.
Henry wanted some of that, to be honest. Let's be fair.
They're storing all the data in her thighs.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him, that was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply.
He said
the line!
Yo, he always comes back.
He always comes back!
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying!
Co-founder, he would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard. And there it was, buried
Yo,
in
it's
the back
Dave
of
Miller.
parts and services mixed in with the old withered animatronics was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Oh my gosh.
We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out.
some of the animatronic characters do get a bit quirky at times.
Quirky at night. I mean, you see Freddy twerking.
Yes, that was a joke.
1987, 5 more kids.
So
He didn't know what
yes.
felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how
Kills
devastating
more
this
kids,
would be
he
to
messed with
Henry the
animatronics,
next
made
morning.
him
He
go
didn't even try to
crazy.
hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on
Crazy?
Henry's hands. He'd failed
I
to
was crazy
protect
once.
the
I was
kids.
No, when I
again.
started
The restaurant
this.
had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift.
That's the bite of 87!
For him? William's curiosity.
Bite of 80s?
Wait, what'd you say? Yeah.
Is that actually the butt of 87 though?
Yeah, the actual bite of 87 is a night guard just gets bit.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, the other bite is the bite of 83.
Why is the bite of 87 should be like the, you know.
It should be, but the FNAF sucks and the lore is all complicated.
The what? The bite of 87 should be what?
The bite of 87 should be the Fredbear one,
Be
but
the
the Fredbear
important
one
one.
is actually the bite of 83.
Oh.
So they're 4 years apart. In 4 years, William Afton has killed over 10 children.
Real.
That's actually crazy though.
Alright, continuing.
Stronger
Like,
now than
no
his
one
blood
thought to
loss.
look
He
for these
had to learn
children.
more, but
Well, they
how?
did,
There
but
was
they're
no
already
way
dead.
he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's Pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success and even more so the
Real.
unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's
Here comes
Pizza,
the-
it was clear that the stage was
the gay
set,
time-
no
I mean
pun
fun
intended,
time
for
animatronics.
another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World. This
What
would
the
be the
fuck?
place where he could continue his work. No longer
Isaac has
just
no idea what any of
murdering,
this is.
Experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his
He
face
needed
on the
more
restaurant
kids.
floor, he
Yeah, he
needed
needed
a way
more
of
kids.
remotely capturing his victims and
Real.
preserving
So
them
he
for his
kidnaps
work.
kill
With
children.
that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct
yeah,
input
Pika.
from him. It was
There's a
brilliant. He
child
was
inside the-
brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires
Bro-
of Henry's design.
Bro
The
made the
characters he
children
chose for this were
capturing
uniquely
machines.
his. His new
He did.
roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as 2 special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his baby in mind, Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
Oh no, another ad.
Valorant.
More Valorant
It's
ads.
David. Look, David. It's David from
The day
Valorant.
before
No,
Circus
it's
Baby's
guys,
Pizza World opened,
guys,
she disobeyed.
the-
She
the-
didn't
It's
the
literally
child- the
Joseph
kid died.
Dolo. What are you talking
The
about?
kid died, bro. The kid's dead.
animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole.
She's dead.
Scared
Okay,
and
so what?
confused
She
child
died.
So what?
fading into
The kid
eternal
child.
darkness.
She
By the
dead.
time Afton found
Go
her,
back,
it was
go
too late.
back.
She was gone. For Circus Baby's Pizza.
Here, wait. Here, let's hear the jump scare
Just
sound.
for me?
Jump scare
The day
sound.
before Circus Baby's
That is
Pizza
the
World opened,
cringiest
she
jump scare
disobeyed. She didn't
sound.
listen.
It's
Left
better
alone
when there's
with
actually,
baby,
like, you
she
know, a
got
jump
too
scare
close.
happening at the same time.
animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat there at the foot of the stage, he noticed that something was different. The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's. Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret. It had to contain the remnants of life itself, but he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creation?
Oh, is that the FNAF goo?
No, it's not Fazgoo. Fazgoo is much
the
weirder.
goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly, the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else. Something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts
Here it comes.
attacked. His past victims come to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The 5 lined up and blocked the door.
And then he goes into Sping Tap,
The
right?
scientific implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do?
Can you
What
explain
could
it?
they do?
I will in a
As
second.
Cassidy approached, how do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first
Cassidy
place.
was the
He would
first,
get into a
right?
suit like old times. He would
no.
regain his power over them just like the day that they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge. The spring lock snapped into place. Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming to collect
Bro,
its due.
Lively. You can't show this on
The only
YouTube.
thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled
Lively.
with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pouring onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him. A security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years, trapped behind the
Sping
walls
tap.
with an iron will that refused to die. End of this part. I say
We did it.
We did it.
So now I have to
All
set
right,
the
now to
explanation.
the next one.
So yeah, well,
Wait,
first.
no. Can you explain what happened?
So the
Yeah,
first.
he does an explanation afterwards, right?
Yeah, we'll do that. But basically, the first person killed David was Susie, the person who got stuffed in a Chica, because funny lore.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe Charlotte
was
was.
Susie.
Charlotte technically was, and then it was
Cassidy
Susie.
then.
And
Who's
then it's-
Cassidy then?
Cassidy's the last one. It's the one who he should not have killed.
Is that the one that ended up getting it closed down?
Cassidy? No,
So
they were,
he
I
got
guess
killed
so. Yeah.
by his own machine because what? What happened with the machine?
So he didn't get killed by his own machine. It was the spring lock suit, which the suit could either be worn by a person or it could be a functioning robot by itself. So he got inside the suit, he moved around a bunch, and it triggered the spring lock. And the spring locks make it like the normal robot suit. So he all the robotic parts kind of came it went from suit mode to robot mode. So he got stabbed with a bunch of metal. And he died.
He got crush-a-lushed.
Hate it when that happens.
Well, he didn't actually die, but he technically died.
He just got crushed.
This part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point, and the episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that we already knew, stuff that's been established and re-established time and time again by the games. That said, there are two things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of Sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game.
Alright, forget it. Alright, we're going to the next one.
Wait, what? Why?
Because I don't like ads, bro. I don't like ads, bro. Ads are cringe. Come on. All right.
Hello,
Two more videos.
Welcome to Game
We're learning.
Theory and page 20 of our final FNAF timeline. This is getting ridiculous. Last time we covered William Afton's rise as a serial killer, how the loss of his young son in
The man
1983
behind
caused
slaughter.
him to make one fateful promise that would ultimately serve as his driving force for decades. I will put you back together. Fueled by grief and obsession, Afton would lose himself in work and drinks. One night in a fit of rage, he lashes out against Henry's young daughter Charlie, his first murder. This moment becomes the first domino to fall in a long sequence of events that ultimately destroys William's life and the lives of those around him. That one murder gives Afton a taste for blood, resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across 2 different pizzerias. Those children go on to possess animatronics, giving Afton his first exposure to Remnant and the potential solution for bringing his son back to life. The need to learn more about this miraculous power leads him to produce the Funtime animatronics, as well as their capture devices. Robots designed to bring kids to him for experimentation and collection of
theater we're gonna go to?
Except
What does?
A bunch of people from our school go to the theater that we're gonna go to watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan West works there, I'm pretty sure.
He do, yes, I know. It's
Who does
gonna...
Domingo? Domingo's a G though, so.
I don't know. I don't even know Domingo, I'm not gonna lie to you.
there was
Yeah,
one
Minga's a
thing that he
G.
didn't
That's all you
account
have-
for. His
Oh.
daughter's
That's all I have to know?
curiosity.
Okay.
He made the robots too appealing, and it would cost him Elizabeth's life. Now with 2
Hey,
children
yo.
to put back together, Afton
Hey,
was
yo.
more desperate and crazed than ever, returning to defunct pizzerias to steal the possessed metal still living inside their walls. What he didn't account for, though, were the ghosts, forcing him to pay for the sins of his
Spooky,
past. When last we
scary
left
ghost
him, William was
children.
spring-locked, bleeding to death behind a secret wall. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, as we're about to see in today's video. Today, we're finishing up Chapter 2 of our story,
The
wrapping
Afton
up the
era.
Afton era.
Hey, we're
Over the next 6
finishing up
pages, we switch our
Chapter
focus to the
2
other
of our
main character of the franchise, Mike, a young boy dealing with the fallout of a stupid childhood decision with tragic consequences. A young man whose life is best described as collateral damage, caught in the blast radius of William's whirlwind of destruction. Now, before we begin, let me just rip off the band-aid now. We won't be finishing the timeline today. I know. I'm sorry, I wanted to, but covering FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach wound up taking me an additional 9 pages of script. And I've already made you wait long enough for this part, so I just had to make the executive call to break this one up into 2. Don't worry, that part is already written, it is already recorded, it's just in the process of being edited. It is a hefty
It's already out, who
episode.
cares?
So mark it on your calendar, that one's actually going to be going everything for a lot of fun. Fair warning though, about them. Like, I think that we've locked in on a lot of the answers here, but they're gonna raise a lot of discussion. Let's just say that you're either gonna love that episode or hate it. I don't really think there's gonna be much in between.
I think we'll probably hate it.
Anyway, without any further ado, let's cover a chunk of the timeline that's a lot
I
less
like it, 'cause I just
controversial.
listen.
Let's meet Mike.
Michael
William still
Afton.
wasn't back. Weird. Michael knew his father sometimes traveled for work, disappearing for days on end, but usually there was some sort of notice, a phone call, a post-it.
Why does he look so
It's not
weird?
like Michael and his
There's
father
no
were
reason.
close.
I don't know.
Far
Looks
from
like
it.
you,
As a
David.
household of
It
2
does look like you.
suffering men,
No, he
going through
doesn't.
years of tragedy
Every
and
human in
loss,
this
there
is
was
doesn't.
some element
So-
of communication between the 2 of them. They were united by a name and a shared pain. This time, though, things felt different. William had left nothing. His absence was longer. There were no check-ins, no updates, just silence. Something had happened. If there was one thing Michael knew about his father, it was that he had contingencies, safety checks, backup plans. His father was a careful and guarded man. He held his cards close to his chest, and as such, William had prepared him in the event that something like this ever happened. Normally, his father kept his home office locked, but in the event of an unexpected, prolonged absence, Michael had been instructed to enter his father's office and look behind an empty set of shelves mounted in the corner of the room. Rolling his eyes, Michael entered the office. Never fully understood how William was able to spend so many hours of his days locked up in here. There was just nothing to do. Most of this place was empty. He dragged himself over to the shelf in the corner, expecting to find an emergency contact list,
guys.
family safety deposit box. But what he actually found there was completely unexpected.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
The shelf swung open and revealed a giant industrial elevator, one that led straight down into an underground bunker. But that was impossible. Hidden inside his childhood home was a secret
Is
entrance
this
to
sister
an enormous
location?
underground
sister
science
location.
lair? It didn't make any sense. Seriously, it didn't make any sense. And yet, here it was, mapped directly underneath the floor plan of the house that he'd grown up in, lost his brother in, been tortured in. Michael thought that he'd known his father, a prideful, sad, angry man with petty, everyday problems, but clearly he'd been living with a stranger this entire time. His father had secrets. Suddenly, the days of William being locked inside of his office made sense. He'd been here the entire time. Where was here, though? Was this Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals? The Circus Baby restaurant always did seem to be a deeply personal project for father, a failure of his that cut unusually deep, especially after that first location had to be closed prematurely due to the gas leaks. After that day, father really did seem to change, to lose himself.
Lose
Oh
yourself?
damn. This is the first security breach ad. Wait, this is the first security breach ad.
Like the very first one?
Yeah, that was literally the very first security breach ad, and it used unused voice lines. So that's actually so funny. Listen, I'm a FNAF nerd. I know when I see
Clearly,
stuff.
the entrance he had found was some sort of secret back way into the facility, one that required crawling through vents to navigate. His father had been working here, but in secret. Why?
Dude, he's
That's
venting
what he
like Among
found
Us.
At the end of the facility, Circus
Real.
Baby, his father's pride and joy. Except something was different about her. She wasn't like the others. The way she talked, the stories she told. This wasn't just a robot. She was alive somehow. And not only was she alive, she also felt familiar.
There is something bad inside of me. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. Will you help me?
Was this his sister?
Oh, no!
William's baby girl? But how? Why?
Our
What
table,
was this
it's
place? He
broken.
dug around some old files and found blueprints outlining the features of these animatronics. Storage containers, voice mimicking, parental tracking. And was that a child in Freddy's stomach? Was his father collecting and experimenting on kids? Were all the rumors that he'd heard throughout his past actually true?
No.
That animatronics came to life at night, that there were murders done in all the pizzerias, that his father had somehow been the prime suspect in all of it. Suddenly, Michael's mind flashed back to his persistent nightmares throughout his childhood. Had he been experimented on too? Tears stung in his eyes as anger, fear, and confusion filled his body. His father's secrets were pouring out. William wasn't just a lame, overworked father. He was a monster, toying with life itself. Suddenly, everything
the name of
clicked. He frantically looked around the room, blinking human heads on poles staring back at him. Green eyes, his sister. Blue eyes, his brother. Closed eyes, his mom. All just staring expectantly. These were meant to be human. William was working
How
down
do
here
you
trying
stare
to
when your
make
eyes are
believable
closed?
humans.
Yeah,
literally
like, what?
rebuilding the
Oh, the other
family
two are
that they had
staring,
both
alright? The other
lost.
two
The
are.
small little girl robots with their British accents roaming the hallways of
Jesus.
this underground facility suddenly
their
took on a
British
whole
accents.
new context.
They are British, to be fair.
Were
It's
those
still funny
meant
to
to
hear
be
him
his
say that.
sister?
It
A
is.
replacement for her? A clone? Was William building clones of his sister? They seemed to know him, after all, to react to his presence.
They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
He always did have a bit of a resemblance to his father. Michael's mind reeled as the reality of his world crumbled to dust. No, he had to get them out of there. If this really was his sister, heck, if any of these things were human, souls, whatever remnant of the humans that they once were, they needed to be rescued.
They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here.
Led by the voice of Circus Baby, he marched through the now empty halls of the Funtime Auditorium. He would lead them. He would protect them. And finally, he would be able to forgive himself for the killing of his brother so many years.
At Fred Meyer, everyone wins because you get the same great prices
Perfect cutoff.
and rewards no matter how you shop.
After all these years, gets killed, and then gets geometry dashed.
Me.
This actually looks sick though. I would play that, but I don't think that's how the game works.
You are in the scooping room.
Technically it is, but it really isn't.
The
Really
scooper
isn't.
only hurts for a moment.
Scooper,
Same.
that violent extraction arm. Michael had seen that one in the pile of
Scooper
blueprints,
only
something about
hurts
heat
for a minute.
rendering the magic
Scoop,
silver
there it
metal
is.
inside useless.
Sus.
In reality, prior to getting himself spring-locked and put behind the wall,
Real.
William's methods had become increasingly sophisticated, with a mechanized arm that could infuse new bodies with the soul. William could finally give and take away life. The only thing he needed were the bodies. But William wasn't the only one looking for bodies, as Michael was about to learn.
But if we looked like you, then we could
It's
hide.
entered, by the way.
If we looked like you, then we would have somewhere to go.
Michael was gonna be the hero to help these animatronics, all right. He was gonna help the haunted tubes and wires of these animatronics escape, just not in the way that he anticipated. His sister had lied to him, another game of pretend. The scooper plowed forward, digging its extraction arm into his body. As he heard his bones ripping through his flesh, Michael blacked out.
But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not.
For the next several months, Michael's life was not his own. He was forced to comply with a tangle of wires and spirits that lived inside of him. His body felt like an overfilled balloon begging to burst as day by day, week by week, his flesh began to sag and discolor. He was a walking, talking, rotting corpse, alive, but wishing he wasn't. He was a puppet, a walking shell. And while he did his best to conceal his fate, there was only so much a man filled with robot spaghetti could do. The entity in his innards would eventually leave, but by that point, the damage had been done. His decaying flesh stank, turning him into a literal purple guy. But still, even with no bones, even with rotting purple flesh and begging to die, Michael continued to live. That silvery metal remnant injected by the scooper meant that he couldn't die. His anger also refused to die. What he had seen down there in his sister's location had rocked him to his core. His father had killed and captured dozens. His experiments had killed his sister and then tortured him throughout all his childhood. He was actively trying to build human replicants. He didn't know where his father was, but Michael knew that he was out there somewhere.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you.
Michael had to correct for the sins of his father. He had to make things right. Michael would burn Fazbear Entertainment to the ground. I mean, what else could you do when your skin was permanently purple? Michael's strategy was simple. He would apply for night security guard positions at the old defunct pizzeria locations. That way, no one ever had to see him or smell him during his shift. And all these old shuttered locations did need guards. Teenage vamp.
What is your question, soldier?
So his skin like rot. What?
Yeah, skin rotted because there's a robot living inside of him. He should have been dead.
Yeah.
So like none of his organs were doing the organ stuff, so he's rotting.
In the middle left, so it stopped rotting.
So yeah, no, his body's still rotting even after the thing left. So like he doesn't mention it, but yeah, his body most likely is still gonna rot even after the thing leaves.
So
wait, how does he even get hired?
How does he get hired? They don't. It's not. It's a defunct location, so they don't really care who they hire. They just need someone to watch over it to make sure they don't steal anything. That's literally it.
I love how Isaac's thing is just a lot better of a question. Well, I'm just it's like, how did they get him hired?
Yeah, that's fair. I timed Adrian out because he was annoying.
I have everyone muted except for Isaac.
I know. I can only hear you. I can only hear you too. But yeah, all right. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I muted Adrian, and I also muted Gamer Boy.
I think I muted Gamer Boy too. I thought I server muted him, but I guess I just muted him.
Nice.
All right. So, any other questions? Are we good?
We're good.
All right, we're good.
I'm good.
I think we're good.
All right.
Vandals and squatters were always looking to get inside these abandoned buildings, and yet no one ever really wanted to work an overnight graveyard shift unless they were practically out of options.
Okay, well there's your reason, David. No one else wanted to do the job, so he was the only applicant.
One by one, he would take on the job of security guard, changing his
literally
name each time to ensure that no one was able to follow his paper trail. Once inside, he could tamper with the animatronics and figure out how they worked, writing about his experiences in his security logbook. While there, he would listen to the old tapes where upper management awkwardly welcomed new recruits to their summer jobs, even though he was working there nowhere near the summer months. He heard the gory details of his father's franchise from the outsiders looking in, confused and afraid about what was happening in the walls around them. Sometimes he would see his brother in the form of the Golden Freddy suit. It's me appearing on the walls around him. Except now, there was something else there. He was no longer alone. Another angrier presence was also in the suit, as if two spirits were forced to share the same body. And Golden Freddy would attack him now. It was aggressive. Its vengeance wanted to lash out at anyone with the Afton name, anyone who wore a security guard outfit. Over time, Mike worked his way through the old restaurants, the original
Did you understand that part?
Bigger, better Freddy Fazbear's. He spent weeks there looking for clues as to his father's
There's 2 souls in Fredbear. I already knew that.
He would then set the location on fire. Remnant can't survive high temperatures after all. So burning away whatever spirit-laden animatronics that still existed inside seemed like a winning strategy. All this revisiting of his past, though, was causing the nightmares to begin again. Hallucinations that brought brought him back to his childhood. The guilt around killing his brother. His dreams were oddly mixed with the shrill phone calls of the security guards. But it would all be worth it in the end. The goal was to eventually stumble across the one location, the one job that would finally reunite him with his father. Little did Mike know that that day would come sooner than he expected. 2023, an advertisement came across Mike's TV. Fazbear Fright.
Oh yeah, Isaac, just so you know, FNAF 3 takes place in 2023.
Okay, that's sus.
The game was made a while ago, and it just takes place in 2023.
New horror attraction inspired by the awful crimes that occurred around Freddy Fazbear's.
So literally everything after this in the timeline is in the future.
People looking to make a quick buck off the tragedy of others, off his own family. This wasn't a joke or entertainment. Regardless,
so this is Fazbear Fright.
This team was combing through his family's history. They might stumble across something that
There's a game, right?
And if his father was
Fazbear Fright's not a game.
alive,
FNAF 3 is the game where Fazbear Fright is the location.
Maybe finally this could be the final chapter in his family's marathon of tragedy. Mike applied for the job and was immediately handed the keys. Years of doing this had taught him that security guards rarely receive thorough security checks. They also liked how creepy Mike looked. They thought it was a costume, on theme for the job. What little they knew.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time.
For weeks, there was nothing. But just as Mike considered giving up, he received the call that he'd been waiting for years.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
Could this finally be him? Sure enough, there he was. William
there
inside
he
his
is.
iconic golden Bonnie Springlock suit. Only now it was green and decaying with age. And there they were.
Spring
a small
tab!
family of broken men finally reunited. It's been a long time, Dad. Mike had always struggled with the phantoms of his past haunting him, but now all the animatronics he'd encountered over the past months, hopping from pizzeria to pizzeria, suddenly sprang to life. Their burned faces haunting him as he tried to keep track of his father on the cameras. It would seem that William's mere presence had put the spirits on high alert. Ultimately, they were harmless, more annoying than anything else, but there was one that felt different from the others. One that was more than just a mere phantom. The security puppet. If he looked at the cameras at just the right moment, he could see it floating there through the halls. He could even see its reflection in the water pooled on the ground. It would seem like he wasn't the only one there on a mission. While he was dealing with Springtrap, Michael assumed that this one was likely dealing with the spirits of this place, finally setting them to rest. Hopefully this means a happier day for all of us, Mike thought to himself. And in that moment, he felt the air around him release, like pressure being let out of a bottle. The building sighed, as if 5 spirits had finally been allowed to move on. He had the sense that his brother was a part of them. He rigged the wiring inside the building to misfire, and the dry, desiccated walls erupted in flames. It is finished.
Except it's not.
Michael,
don't leave me here. Michael.
Except
that actually doesn't come yet though.
Somehow, through sheer force of will,
yeah, it comes in FNAF 6. This is FNAF 3.
Survived, and Mike would need to find a new way of finishing off his father. Luckily, the solution would present itself later that year. Not from Mike, but from another victim that had been left
Henry
in his father's
Emily.
wake.
We're talking about becoming a Fazbear Entertainment franchisee. Restaurant ownership and management. Something almost anyone can do with a limited degree of success. You are
It's
now
like
the
Chick-fil-A.
face of the newly rebranded Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Fazbear Entertainment as a brand has been closed for years. William had been stuck in a second wall. The only person
Blacklisted,
who
percent,
was
blacklisted,
was Henry, but he'd largely pulled out of the franchise around the
I
time
will
of his
eventually do
father's
Blacklisted, I
disappearance.
swear.
Something was up. Surely this had to be some kind of a trick, right?
Just
Mike,
follow
doing
Astro
what he did
Spiff's
best,
tutorial.
applied for a franchise,
Yeah, but I'm bad.
and immediately got the job. There was just
And it's
one
also
thing out of the
luck-based.
ordinary. Paragraph 4.
If you are playing this
Not-
tape, that means that
It
not
is,
only
though.
have you been checking outside
Astral
of the
Spiff
end
tells
of
you
every
though how to
shift
do it.
Yeah, but it is also luck
do,
based.
but also that you have found something that meets the criteria.
I know
of
how to do
special
it, but like
obligations under
actually doing it is
paragraph
harder.
4.
No employment contract he'd ever signed required him to keep special lookout for independently moving animatronics outside the restaurant. Now he knew something was up here. Henry was luring them all back. Rather than trying to go to them, like Mike had done for years, Henry was doing the opposite. He was putting them
This
all
is,
under the same roof. He was
this is
finishing them
Snapsex,
off.
where-
This is
Mike
the-
knew this wasn't meant to be a restaurant.
This is
It was meant
where
to be a prison,
they
a
burn.
containment vessel, a
This is
locked
the quote-unquote
box meant
end.
to trap them all in so they could finally end the madness. It took a few nights,
Except
but
for when it
eventually
isn't.
everyone was there. His father, the puppet, the robot spaghetti that had once violated his body, and his sister, now hopelessly devoted to serve the man that had once gotten her killed. It was time. He had been instructed to seal the doors and leave, but while he locked everything down, he didn't move on. If this was truly meant to be the end, if the remnant needed to be washed away, he needed to be a part of that.
This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing, not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So
Don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
And with that, it was over.
Me personally, I would not take that little disrespect.
Me personally, I would not take that little disrespect. Me personally, I would always come back.
Flames danced around the office. Mike, for the first time in decades, was happy. But William wasn't gone yet. Although the darkest pit of hell was open and waiting for him, something or someone wouldn't allow him to move on. Instead, he found himself locked in moments from his past. The pizzeria, his son's room, his underground bunker. It was as if his brain's neurons were all firing at once, overloaded, mixing and matching all his biggest fears, regrets, failures. What was this place? How did he get here? He called out into the silence.
Listen,
there it is.
You could pay for a
Here it is,
streaming
David.
app
You could say it
and
now.
a music app.
After the
Or
ad.
Just get YouTube Premium.
Then they started coming. Without
That's
warning,
the lore accurate
new and
version.
old began to jump out at him, bite
What?
him, rip him
Of
limb
the
from
Michael
limb.
help me
The
meme.
pain was immeasurable. Make it stop. Make it stop. William, for the first time, longed for death, an end to this torture. Just as it felt like he couldn't take it anymore, everything was quiet again. It was as if the world had been reset. There was a brief moment of quiet, and then the onslaught began again. Dozens of faces from his past all focused on him. A waking nightmare that he couldn't escape from. More pain, more ripping. It was his own personal hell, but why? Why couldn't he just die? And then he saw them. A group of characters he never thought he'd see again. Those janky, stolen characters that had started everything. The mediocre melodies. It had all started to go wrong once they showed up. Once Henry had made them.
It all
Mixed
started
in
to
with
go
their
wrong
obnoxious
once they
southern drawls,
showed up.
William heard something
Yeah, totally.
else. It was barely a whisper, but
They,
he
them.
could just make out the words.
He tried to release you. He tried to release
So if you listen
us.
closely to this voice
But I'm
line, there's
not gonna
a
let
whisper.
that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
That voice. He knew that voice, but from where?
Cassidy.
And from the one you should not have killed.
The one he shouldn't have killed. William thought back. He'd done a lot of awful things, but there was always the one that stood out. Not Charlie, his drunken act of revenge. Not Susie, his first true murder, no. Instead, it was the one that he had lost control with. The one that he had broken beyond repair for no good reason other than because he could. The one that he'd stuffed inside the golden bear that his partner used to wear. Cassidy. They were back, and now they were trying to punish him, to make him suffer like he
Cassidy?
made them suffer.
Yep,
It was almost
Cassidy.
like William and Cassidy's souls
There's
had been
Cassidy
locked
again.
together, fused
Cassidy
by a
is the one he should not have killed. It's the last of the original 5 murders. Golden Freddy. Yeah.
Yeah, you should know this.
You should know this.
David.
rage.
I don't even know what's happening half the
refusing
time.
to move
That's
on.
fair.
But while Cassidy was so focused on taking revenge, they actually did the one thing that would be the downfall for so many others. They kept William alive. Even though fire should have destroyed the
W.
remnant that was coursing
Yeah,
through his being,
W.
Cassidy kept William breathing,
Yeah,
paving the
W.
way for his escape. William's will was so strong. His
So
soul
this
was
is
so
good.
powerful that he
What is
managed to
good?
put a part of himself inside
That,
the
like, he's
circuitry
being
that
kept
housed the
alive,
spring
this is
locks.
good.
That's not
And there,
good.
his
That's the opposite of good.
consciousness
It's
lay
not good.
inside
He's
his
a
Why?
murderer,
No.
Isaac.
board, waiting
Isaac.
for
He's being
someone to find him.
He's being
and
tortured, but he's gonna come back.
person that no one would
He
suspect.
always
Okay,
comes
so
He
back.
always comes back.
But an important one as we shift perspectives.
It
to what I
literally
can
is
tell
one
his side of the
character
story.
thing.
And with FNAF VR, AR, and
Alright,
security
so this
breach having
is
so
the last
much to
explanation.
explain, I didn't want to
Well,
rush
second to
through
last
things by trying to
explanation.
cram it all in here. Don't worry, I know.
Gamer Boy?
Ban him.
Gamer
Perma
Boy, you're
ban.
being timed out for 1 week because lol.
Just time him out until the end of the night.
I know, I'll untime him out later, but I just think it's funnier to do it for like
Time him
an
out
absurd
for-
amount of times.
Zach.
What?
Time him out for 5 nights.
I did it for a week, so I didn't have an option for 5 nights. I would have though.
There's no option for 5 minutes.
Okay, so do we want to watch the explanation for this one, or do you want to just
Yes.
skip? Well, Isaac,
Keep watching. I want to keep watching this
Well,
because
you've
I'm
all been
still
patient.
kind
The
of.
final video is happening on March
Okay.
25th. That is locked. It is getting ready to go. Trust me, I want this thing to be over and done with as much as you. I am not just stretching it out for the views.
Shut up, Matt
But
Pat. I
before
don't
we
want it to
wrap
be
up
over
for
and
the
done
day, I
with.
did want to talk about the big
You don't know what I
elephant in
want.
the room, Mike's quest for revenge. You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know them. There is no good way for me to make them fit in. Here's what I do know. We know with a high amount of certainty that Michael Afton is the character that we play as up until Ultimate Custom Night. Mike Schmidt and Fritz Smith the security guards for FNAF 1 and FNAF 2
Michael Afton is
respectively
a
get
dude,
fired for,
and you
quote,
play as
tampering with the animatronics
Same with
and
I've-
odor. So weird connection between the two
Zelda
of them,
is
right?
a
But now,
dude,
look at
and
the
you
phantom
play as him.
animatronics that are haunting us in FNAF
Do you know he's thrown out because of odor because he's a rotting corpse.
3. They use
No
models
shit,
from
really?
both FNAF
Well, yeah,
1
but making
and
sure
FNAF
Isaac
2,
knew, 'cause
meaning
Isaac's
whoever
not
is
that
sitting in
smart,
that
you know.
security guard
Yeah,
chair,
okay.
Fazbear
That
Fright,
makes
they have
sense.
to have seen both locations and their animatronics. And that's not all. Their designs are burnt. It's a weird detail in the game, and it's something that the character encyclopedia repeatedly calls attention to. The burned texture for these phantom animatronics. Why is that so unusual, though? Fazbear Frights is the first time in the franchise that we hear about anything burning down. From that point on in the story, it's like the characters turn pyro and are suddenly setting fires left and right. But for the first 3 games, nothing ever catches fire. The animatronics are just moved or repurposed in some way. So when did they burn? And why would our security guards see them as being burned? Someone has to have been going location to location, setting these places on fire, purging the
sister
sins
location?
of the past. We know we're definitely
Whoa.
playing as Mike and Sister location in FNAF 6 based on the in-game dialogue. And in FNAF 4, there's an Easter egg where we can hear the phone call from Night 1 of FNAF 1, meaning that whoever's in that bedroom has heard the recording as a security guard. We also know that
Yeah,
Mike has seen
Easter
the
eggs
nightmare
are meant to
animatronics
be
based
lore,
on his drawings
guys.
in the security logbook. So overall, there is solid
Mm.
evidence that connects all of FNAF's 1 through 6. You'll also notice how the character encyclopedia
that was common
doesn't have
knowledge.
a page for Mike
I
Afton.
know, but
This
it's
thing has
just
a
really
page
funny.
for Chocolate Bunny Bonnie, but not Michael. Some tells me they don't want us to confirm how many games he's been in, because that would confirm too much of the theory. In short, this gives us an incredibly compelling and complete narrative. Mike as our protagonist, and William, his father, as our antagonist. Mike accidentally kills his brother in Fredbear's mouth, which begins our story and sets William...
Alright, that's basically all the explanation. And that's where the FNAF timeline should have ended. Time for another
Okay.
half hour of FNAF
Alright.
timeline. Now we
Another
get
half-
into
oh,
the
damn.
bullshit. Now we get into the actual complete
Now we
bullshit.
get- It wasn't already bullshit?
No, it was bullshit. Now it's even more bullshit.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game
Welcome to
Theory.
Game
Welcome
The
to
final
Game.
part of my FNAF timeline, where today we're bringing our story.
Today
to a
we're
close
gonna
by
bring
talking
back
about the
Quirky
most
Freddy
complicated,
Fazbear and look at his
controversial
ass.
part of the timeline, the part that I've been dreading most of all, the end. The moment where we're finally forced to come to some definitive
W.
and difficult answers, trying
This
to
was made
explain
before
what the heck we
Ruined,
were
by the way.
watching in Security Breach. The last 2 episodes have
This
been
is not
about
up to
death.
date
The
now.
death of Afton's family, the deaths of multiple children, the death of the franchise itself as Mike and Henry figuratively and literally burn it all down. Today's episode, though, and the current end of this franchise, is instead all about rebirth. The return of old characters in new forms, and the controversial rebirth of a franchise entering the next era of its story. But before we hop into the timeline, due to scheduling conflicts, I won't be able to have any live make it
We skipped the intro. Post Purple Guy.
Fazbear Entertainment was dead.
There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity.
All debts had been paid, all assets redistributed. The company was outright dissolved. Even the memories of the horrors that had happened there started to fade away in the public consciousness. The people were gone too.
we're back.
William was dead. Henry was gone. A whole
Jeez.
generation of young Emilys and Aftons had lost their lives to the horrors of the pizzeria. All of them collateral damage to the man in the bunny suit. Everyone the company had
The
ever
man
touched
in the bunny
was dead
suit.
and gone.
Yeah.
Well, all except one.
Pay your
This is
child
such a
support, you
waste.
deadbeat.
Guys,
I'm
here
keeping
is
diamond ring.
the
I
stupidest
also
part of
set
this
the
theory.
house on fire.
Clara Afton. She'd been there in the early days, back when things with William were good. They'd had.
Let
the
me
perfect
guess, she
home,
gets eaten by the
thriving
ballerina
business, the
person?
ideal family.
No.
But shortly after their youngest son died, things
No.
started
She just
to
made it
change.
even
William had
stupider.
become
Find out then,
distant,
David.
lost
Shut
in
the
his
fuck
work,
up.
obsessive. She had watched him change from this irritatingly brilliant man that she had fallen in love with to a drunken monster struggling to hold himself together. And despite her trying to reach out to him in those desperate days, he was just too far gone.
Inside your walls, when there's music in my halls. No more joy in an empty tomb.
Admit it, you wanted to let me in.
For her sake, she had to leave the relationship, and from there,
Yacht.
she largely faded into obscurity. A
Yacht.
mystery from William's past, a footnote in his history. And that was
Not
fine for
William
her. She wanted to
Yachtington.
leave that part of her life behind. She tried to move forward, never wanting to hear the name Freddy Fazbear again.
Spring
A time
Yacht.
defined by mistakes
Spring
and
Yacht.
broken promises. But then,
Spring
the
Yacht.
paperwork started to arrive. As Fazbear Entertainment began
The
to close as a
paperwork.
corporate entity,
The
suddenly
paperwork.
mail
The
was
divorce papers.
flooded with
No, it's more than
notifications,
that.
requests, obligations. She had been there since the beginning, helping William in the early days of his business, and now, as a shareholder and sole living member of the Afton family, all copyrights and trademarks of both Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment passed on to her. Memories of this past life that she had long left behind. Looking at the blueprints, the contracts, the memos, she felt old wounds begin to reopen. The regrets of a happy family that had been torn away from her. William had always been brilliant. That's what had attracted her to him in the first place. But he'd also been too blinded by obsession and pride. He was too jealous, too petty, too unable to actually see a bigger picture. But now, holding the paperwork that contained decades of heartbreak and trauma, she realized it was her turn. She was holding the power. This was her chance. And one thought resonated in her head. I will put them back together. I will put them all back together. She would be the one to rebuild this family, to rebuild the pieces of that shattered life, to reclaim the kids that Fazbear had stolen from her. But how? Looking at William's work now laid out before her,
she's
she
gonna
knew
make
that he had been onto
animatronics
something.
of her
Collective
kids.
robotic humanoids, digital conscience transference. The pieces were all in place. They were just scattered, fragmented. It was almost like there were too many ideas going in too many different directions. It was such an important idea that she reiterated that point to herself. There were too many ideas going in too many different directions. That said, there had to be a way to save it all. She just needed to put it all back together. But how? To rebuild her family, she would first need to rebuild the franchise that had stolen them away from her. With ownership over the characters, their licenses, the technology, patents, and the Fazbear name,
Biggest
she could...
what?
Coper on Earth.
Oh yeah.
5-star Coper.
Literally the only reason like he did this is because like every single person in the Afton family is dead, so I guess it technically makes sense. Like that's by technicality this just does make sense.
So dumb.
Converting the corporation back to an LLC, a structure for smaller businesses that are usually family-owned. The irony was fitting. From there, she would need Remnant, and lots of it. Remnant was the key. Clearly, in the later years of his life, William had been using Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals as a
was only in the
remnant farm,
books.
sending robots to kids' birthday parties in the hopes of nabbing bits of the stuff here and
And
there.
thank God it
Clearly,
was only in the
wasn't
books.
enough. He had, what, like 4, maybe 5 animatronics going out
What,
every
is
week?
it like
It was a
Freddy
decent idea.
Fazbear come or something?
Basically, we got it again, boys. The original security, bro.
Oh my god.
It's just because it's a fake website. That's the only reason we're getting it.
But to get the remnant they required, it needed scale. Dozens,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's something called
of
targeting
animatronics
ads.
all out there, all gathering
Yeah, it is.
remnant from unsuspecting customers.
But it's also
to
a fake
do that would
website, 'cause that's-
require
you can't
help,
play it for
something
free.
William would never ask for. William had kept everything in-house. His obsession with control limited him. Clara, though, she wasn't nearly that precious. A plan like this required partners, people outside of Fazbear to do the heavy lifting. So she contacted a mid-sized delivery company, DLZ Shipping Solutions, to help build replicas of all the original animatronics. And with
DLZ.
meal delivery apps being all the rage, why not an animatronic delivery service? Order one to celebrate your birthday, your Halloween party. How about
FNAF
a
AR.
4th of July picnic? We'll invite Liberty Chica and 4th of July Freddy on over. She would make sure that they made skins for every occasion. Chocolate Bonnies for Easter, Shamrock Freddy's for St. Patrick's Day, Dia de los Muertos Chicas. And thus, the
Jesus
Fazbear
Christ.
Fun-Time Service
Yep.
was born.
FNAF AR.
You'll never be alone again. You'll always have someone.
Ridiculous?
I
Absolutely.
had a burp.
Was it a sellout? No doubt. It was exactly the sort of thing
FNAF
that
AR.
William would have
Oh, is that
hated,
what that
but
is?
it needed
It's
to be
FNAF
done
AR.
with
Back
enough
the
remnants.
mobile
Normally,
game?
the novelty
It's a
of
mobile
ordering
game,
an
yes.
animatronic wore off after like what?
The mobile game
1,
has to be
2,
connected
3
somewhere,
times? But with
so-
new skins for new holidays, suddenly you had yourself an animatronic perfect for every occasion. It would keep people hooked. It would keep them ordering the latest and greatest that
Animatronic
Fazbear
skins.
Entertainment
Overwatch
LLC
skins?
had to offer.
Basically.
And all
Difference?
the
I think
while they'd be
not.
collecting and returning the remnant back to her.
Literally
In a
FNAF AR is just
word,
Overwatch.
it was brilliant. There was just
Yeah.
one problem with it. No one trusted the Fazbear name. The company's brand was still mud in the public eye. No one would want to hire animatronics
Oh,
from the restaurant
yeah.
franchise
I remember the
known for
story now.
murdering children. Nothing kills a party quite like the threat of death, you know. So she needed to find a way to discredit the stories that had come before.
You're
she
gonna
needed to
love
win
this.
back the
Again, it's
public's
actually fully
affections,
canon.
reactivate some nostalgia for the spooky stories of their childhoods. She needed a game. Multiple games, in fact.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Struggling game developers were a dime a dozen online. most working on their magnum opus between
Scott
shifts at the Dollar
self-insert,
General.
guys.
So she found one. Steve just picked him out of obscurity. The right mix of desperate and doofus willing to say and do anything for a couple extra bucks. And he fell right in line, as expected, delivering stupid little things with dumb generic names like Mangle's Quest, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, Five Nights at Freddy's. Bad gameplay with even worse graphics, but hey, they got the job done. People were suddenly talking about the clues inside of these things, searching for the hidden lore. They were actively making jokes about dead kids at pizzerias. Her husband's twisted history of
Zach.
serial murder had suddenly been reduced to a
What?
mere Nancy Drew mystery to be solved. The
What's
plan
that?
had worked. Freddy
Wait,
Fazbear's
pause
was
it, pause
suddenly
it, pause it,
more
pause it.
popular.
Uh-huh.
So, the game is literally part of the game's lore.
Yeah.
That's
So here's what happens. All of the stuff so far has been real. And then to discredit all of the murders, they decide to pay a game developer to make the games based off of the murders to discredit the murders.
so like, what?
They
So
make
they're like referencing the murders. Like they're saying that. So they're including the murders.
yeah,
on the
but they're
games
making light of
itself.
it. They're making it seem like it's not real by making it a video game.
Oh my god.
Yes. And it's canon. It's actually in the it's not even part of like the dumb game theory stuff. It's actually what happens in the books. It's so bad. Dude.
The books.
We love the books. Don't worry. We love the book.
Oh, the fact that there were games made in light about the murders of children.
Yeah.
To cover up the
To
murders
cover
of
up the
children.
murders of children. Yup.
Popular than ever. Things were going shockingly well. Her takeover and reboot of the franchise was full and complete. Suddenly, it
It'll
feels
only
like
get
Gavin
worse from
had built the largest, most ambitious project yet. The Mega
Pizzaplex.
William had always been so visionary, but always thought so small scale. He was careful to a fault. Not her though.
And now
She
it's
knew
time
that this
for the
latest project
Pizzaplex.
needed
Oh,
to be
FNAF
big. It
VR,
needed to
then
be
Pizzaplex.
flashy. It
Actually,
needed
probably
to be
both
a
at the same time.
palace for children. A place
No,
that
he
got
just did
people
VR.
talking and checking
No,
out
he
the
did
latest
AR.
in Fazbear products. So with a
No,
steady
he also
supply
did
of
VR.
remnants
That was like
thrown
one
in,
reference to
was
VR. It
finally
wasn't
time.
actually
the
VR yet.
stage was set. It was time to get to her real goal, literally rebuilding a family.
We're building the family.
March 2035. The first was obvious.
Jesus.
Crying child.
Yeah, it's in the
little
future.
boy, the one that was the first to get ripped
Here it
away from
comes.
her. She'd seen down in his bunker that William had gotten very close to replicating artificial humans using animatronic technology, and so that's exactly what she would do.
Oh, this
Rebuild
is
her
when
boy from
they
the ground up using
remake
robotic
Gregory.
parts. His
Just
shaggy
make
brown hair,
remake
his favorite
or
striped
Gregory.
shirt, even down to small details that no one would notice, like the band-aid on his left knee. William's research had even found ways
Like
of making
Gregory,
animatronics
when
like blood
Gregory.
process food, making them virtually
Gregory. Vanessa's a 7
indistinguishable
at
from a
best.
typical human. He would never have any idea of what he
No,
actually was
no,
unless he
you're
was
lying.
explicitly told. The only things that could possibly
Freddy, what
ruin
happened?
the
Squid
world were
Game?
any overrides to his internal systems. If something were to say interfere with the cameras that he had in his eyes, or cause some sort of a core reboot to his hard drive, or x-ray his metallic bones, then yeah, he would be exposed. But otherwise, to the outside world, he was just your typical normal human boy. She worked down in the bowels of the Pizzaplex, giving him life, but it was one
So he
thing to
can
build
come.
him. It was another to help him remember his identity. He died so young, so early in their history that there was no preserved memories for him. No documentation that she could just download into his digital brain. So bit by bit, she trained him, forcing him to remember who he was. In a corner of the room, she even made a makeshift dinner table, a reminder of their happier days. The family recreated 2 brothers, a sister, a father, and the mother at the head of
The Bite of 87. Ooh. Anyway.
the one in charge, the one in command, the one bringing all of this to fruition. But his progress was admittedly slower than she would have liked. At first, he could only communicate through simple ones and zeros, then rudimentary drawings and crude letters. But bit by bit, images of his past life started to come through. Balloons, colors, houses, bears and faces, birthday parties. All for me. Gregory was alive. As the robot boy embraced her, she felt a warmth that she
For 1
hadn't
second,
in
I gotta go do
decades.
something real quick.
Alright, we should wait for you?
Yeah.
No.
Alright.
No.
No. No. Hang on. I'm gonna turn off my display capture for a second so I can look at my app mentions. Ever seen my timeout on Adrian R server? Haha. He timed me out as payback. Did you get what you took away my? Oh, you didn't even take away my mod. How do you time me out then? Can I time out Gamer Boy? Oh, I can't. I can block him.
Yeah, I gotta go take a shower, so it'll probably take a little bit. So you can probably just start watching.
All right. We'll
I'll be fine.
We'll recap it for you if you want to get a recap.
All right. Yeah, I'll try and get a recap from you.
All right, guys, we're gonna go back at it. It's time.
Can you pause it for a sec, Dad? Or Zach, my dad.
Okay, I got you. Actually, let's do a break. Here, we'll do a break. Let me get a song going. We'll do FNAF song AI cover. We'll do Matt Pat sings the FNAF 1 song while I go to the bathroom.
We're waiting every night to finally roam and invite newcomers to play with us. The many years we've been all alone. We're forced to be still and play the same songs we've known since that day. An imposter took our life away. Now we're stuck here to decay. Please let us get in, don't look us away. We feel like what you're thinking. We are pulling us all, growing close to control, and they force you to take that role. We have been there all along, stuck in our little zone since 1987. Join us, be a friend, not just be stuck in your fence. But I'm sure you'll try one day to find ease. Is this where you wanna be? I just don't get it.
How's the song?
Why do you wanna stay
It barely sounds like them. It barely sounds like them.
Yeah.
This is also the new version of this song too.
Yeah.
Do you know about that? There's like a 2020 or something remake of this FNAF song.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Hang on.
I don't want to hear it. I just want to finish this so I can go to bed.
Do you actually have to go to bed?
No, but
do you want to go to bed?
We just finished the lore. We just finished the lore.
We'll finish the lore.
The joy that she'd been working towards. This was what it.
And add immediately.
Great.
It's fine. We'll skip it.
Oh my god, it's League of Legends.
It was all for her son. Back in
Okay,
her
so
arms
they've
again.
rebuilt
The plan
Gregory
was
now.
working. She had to keep going.
Now they have
Next
to
was
rebuild
William.
more.
If the family was truly going to be put together, she would need him. And she knew exactly where he was. In the ruins of that old Freddy Fazbear's pizza place where Henry had trapped him. In fact, that's specifically why she insisted
And she
on
built
building
the mega
Pizzaplex there
pizzaplex over the
sink
top
house,
of the
best
burned
place to
down
hide what her true
pizzeria.
intentions were with the entire operation.
No.
Digging through the wreckage,
she did,
found
yes.
him. He was right where she thought.
And a
he
rotting corpse
Seeing
was
the
found.
putrid shell of the Springtrap suit, though, was not something she was prepared for. The rotting corpse of William Afton was disgusting. Scorched flesh fused into the fur lining. Hollow black sockets where eyes once were. A smell that reeked of burned carbon and bloody iron. He was no longer flesh. It was just the tangled sinews of a creature that was once called human. How far this brilliant man had fallen. It was clear that her work was cut out for her on this one. Afton was practically lifeless. The man may not have been able to die, but he was about as close as you could come. And his body would need a lot of reconstruction. Replacement arms and endoskeleton reinforcements were the top priority. Maybe pulled from their new line of glam rock animatronics. You'd have to see if they had any spare Bonnie parts lying around that they could steal. In the
You see that
meantime, though,
thing
she
over there?
threw the husk that was once her
I
husband
know this
into a
might
life
be-
support
have you heard of the
pod
Among
used
Us?
to
Have
aerosolize
Game
the
Among Us,
remnant to
Gregory?
help keep him stable. But more important than recovering his body was recovering his
You need to
mind.
vent,
In his
Gregory.
current state,
I know it'll
he's
be hard for you to
comatose,
be
an empty
soft.
shell. Severe brain damage starts at temperatures over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. 42 degrees Celsius, and years of repeated fires had burned his brain to goo. Gone was the brilliant, frustrating mind that had drawn her to him in the first place. But she had a plan. Unlike her darling boy Gregory, Afton had found ways to record his consciousness. Fundamentally, the brain is only a series of electrical connections after all, so why couldn't you replicate that in the form of a standard circuit board? In essence, you could create a digital consciousness. And one thing she knew about William, he was nothing if not cautious. A planner. Someone who had backup plans to his backup plans. And sure enough, there it was. Buried in piles of old animatronic CPUs, a record of Afton himself. but she needed someone to test it.
Someone was definitely here during the night. It had to have been the client. I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't need to program any pathfinding ourselves.
Unlike the other games that she'd paid to have made in
What?
the past, this one had a different purpose.
So basically,
this wasn't about PR. It was about
VR
getting William
was
back
made
up
to
and running, spreading his virus to the masses.
You
spread a
acknowledge
virus.
that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transference, real-world manifestations of digital characters.
She hired a new developer, Silver Parasol Games, to scan the boards and bring her husband into the system. And because of the immersive nature of VR, William's consciousness would be able to merge with the player, giving him a new body, a new agency. There was just one complication. Afton's hold wasn't as powerful as she had hoped. He wasn't able to gain complete control. The first trial run, Jeremy, was so desperate to escape from his grasp that he sliced his own face off with a paper shredder. Messy. Afton's followers were reluctant, to say the least. But it was the second attempt that looked like it had the potential to kill two birds with one stone. Enter Vanessa. Mrs. Afton wanted a surrogate daughter. Her darling Elizabeth would have been a
Vanessa.
young woman at this point if she had lived. And Clara
Oh
wanted
my
someone
God.
who wasn't Elizabeth but could be just like
I'm
her.
starting
Could she have
to
just
actually
rebuilt
get
her like
it,
Gregory?
because I watched
Sure, but she
Markiplier's
decided
playthrough of
against it
Security
because she
Breach.
wanted an
That's fair,
actual
yeah.
human mother-daughter connection. Well, that, and it
So
would
I'm
be
actually starting to
redundant,
get it.
narratively unsatisfying to have two robot kids in the same family. What could she say? William had put a lot of tools on the table for her to use, and she was planning on using them all. Plus, Elizabeth had always been so loyal to Daddy. It was time to give her a second chance, a true choice. And Vanessa seemed to be the perfect candidate to fill the role.
Your dad's name was Bill? Your dad didn't play fair, did he? He used to make your mum look bad in court. He manipulated you. I know your mum after she lost the custody case. I was supposed to be a good girl.
She started as a QA tester at Silver Parasol Games, a VR game development company that was part of her plan to bring back William. But more importantly, Vanessa checked all the correct boxes. Right age, blonde, green eyes with a fondness for flowers and the outdoors. In many ways, it was her daughter all over again. Except it wasn't just looks and personality. What really mattered was Vanessa's mind. Underconfident, coming from a broken home, motherless, able to be manipulated. Yes, she would do nicely. She would be the one to save dear old Daddy, just as the real Elizabeth would have wanted.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
While testing the VR game, William's digital consciousness merged with Vanessa. Oh sure, she fought, fragmenting Afton's code into a series of tapes hidden across the game, trying to do web searches to regain control over her life, but it wasn't enough. She was weaker than Jeremy. She was a thrall that, despite occasional moments of lucidity, had to obey. And with Vanessa, it was a 2-for-1 deal. She was getting a daughter back, while also bringing her husband one step closer to reactivation. She just had to make sure that Vanessa was headed the right way.
This is Marisa here, and this is how you create a...
The reborn Gregory was an expert hacker, part of the benefits of being an Afton and a robot, so Clara had him keeping tabs on Vanessa, hacking into her emails and trailing her therapy sessions to ensure the future Elizabeth was falling in line. If any of the therapists started to ask too many questions, they were promptly dismissed from their positions. And while Gregory kept tabs on Vanessa's personal life, Mrs. Afton made sure to clear a path for her professionally. With Silver Parasol's collapse at the hands of the Anomaly, she then had the possessed Vanessa bring the contaminated circuit boards to DLZ shipping and the Fazbear Funtime service. More glitches, more Remnant, more Afton. But it was her last move that was the best. In a true masterpiece of poetry, she brought Vanessa over to be Chief Security Officer at the Pizzaplex. A true family tradition to don the hat and badge, and all it took was a recommendation from the top as well as some emails marked for deletion. Sure, Vanessa didn't have relevant experience for the job, but when it comes directly from the CEO, does it really matter? Husband, son, daughter. A corpse, a robot, a human. All that was left was Michael. Poor, troubled Michael. The boy that killed her youngest. The one that would spend years trying to make his guilty conscience right again. A self-professed protector. While she knew she needed him to complete the family, something told her that the problem had already solved itself. Something had shifted when using Glamrock Freddy to excavate the buried pizza place.
I have been here before. I found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I have changed. My friends are here, but I can protect you. I am not me.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector. But he was there,
Glamrock Freddy
somewhere
is Michael
inside
Afton.
of Glamrock Freddy. She could feel it. Just like that, she'd won. She'd done it. Sure, there were still some kinks to work out, some final brainwashing of Vanessa, some rehabilitation of William, but they were there. Finally, all together again under one roof, the Aftons reunited. A happy ending. And that's how it could have ended. That's how it should have ended, had it not been for a few unanticipated developments. For one, something was just wrong with the Pizzaplex. Almost as if the entire building was haunted, possessed. Puppet plushies hiding on ceilings, behind crates, places that they had no earthly way of belonging. Staff bots with greasy tears down their eyes acting like they were being puppeteered by some sort of a nightmare. Even their sounds had the echo of nightmares long past. It was as though a guardian spirit of the past refused to move on. As long as her husband was around, it too would linger. Only now, it wasn't just in one body, but it was in the essence of the building itself. She had seen stories of houses built on burial grounds getting possessed by angry spirits, but she'd never assumed that it could be real. Then again, in a world of living spirit metal and mind-controlling glitches, who was she to be so judgmental? The whole thing was ridiculous. Why would this be the line that she refused to cross? After all, the Pizzaplex was built over the burial ground of angry spirits, but it was the power cords that finally convinced her that something was wrong. Suddenly, these cords were striped black and white, like the security puppet from generations ago. The very foundations of this place, the materials and wires that constituted it, were rebelling against her, against the Aftons, against the quest to bring them all together again. And it was being helped by something else, something slithering through the building. Maybe they were connected, she couldn't be sure, but a blob of living wire.
So would you like a recap really quickly?
Yes, please.
She has recreated her entire family. Glamrock Freddy's Michael Afton. William's dead body was retrieved. Vanessa put on a VR headset that had a mind control code. So, yeah. Oh, and Charlotte, the security puppet, is haunting the building.
Oh, and Gregory's a robot.
Gregory's a robot.
Yeah, that one was obvious though.
And now we're learning about the spaghetti monster.
Rockstar Row. She could only assume that it was a byproduct of all the remnant they'd been collecting. From Afton's testing, she knew that both light and dark remnant existed, one of positive emotions and the other created from anguish, anger, agony. Perhaps this thing was an amalgamation of all the darkest parts of the pizzeria's history, a collection of the hatred still housed inside these defunct endoskeletons and exosuits. Yeah. As long as it was left alone, it seemed to be harmless. But if any Afton outside of Michael got too close, it would lash out wildly. Even young Gregory, looking to punish the family that had been complicit in its horrible creation. Little did she know, though, that Gregory should have been her biggest concern, that bringing the family together would have some unforeseen consequences. Gregory was normally the goodest of boys. She had literally built him that way. But lately, he'd been disappearing more and more often, disobeying her orders, requests. She knew that he loved playing on the arcade machines once the Pizzaplex closed, being so good as to top the leaderboard on practically all of them. But lately, he was nowhere to be found. She suspected his absence had to do with Glamrock Freddy's failed performance the other night, when he malfunctioned live on stage. Almost as though the core programming of Freddy responded to seeing this rebuilt small boy. Almost like it awakened something inside of him. She'd have to make sure that Vanessa was on the lookout for him. But she'd soon come to learn that Vanessa wasn't enough. Whether it was the influence of the nightmare puppet or a reawakened hatred of animatronics seated deep in Gregory's code, something had caused him to rebel. To rip apart each animatronic in the Pizzaplex. Bit by bit, this boy was tearing down the empire that she'd so painstakingly built. Freeing Vanessa from her mind control, destroying the remains of Afton in the basement, setting Glamrock Freddy loose.
Mm-hmm.
You freed Vanessa?
Wait, yeah, how did he free Vanessa?
I don't know. In a bunch of the endings of Security Breach, he just frees Vanessa, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe by defeating William Afton, it's freed, or maybe because, like...
Oh, yeah, because he's a part of Springtrap, right?
William Afton is Springtrap. What do you mean?
William Afton is Springtrap, but I mean, like, the digital Springtrap.
Oh, yeah, Glitch Trap. I guess, I don't know. I don't really understand it. But, like, somehow Vanessa is, like... Oh, it's Princess Quest or something. I don't remember. Who knows?
Or question mark Rabbit, as he is in the new DLC.
Bro, what are you talking about? That's literally Peg Trap.
Peg Trap, sorry, Peg Trap. I forgot the
created world crumbled around her one more time. She began to plot her revenge. She would have to bring them all to ruin. And there you have it, my friends. Nearly
ruin!
A decade
oh my god, reference.
My FNAF timeline for where the franchise.
So technically, the end part he just said is not correct because the ruin of DLC doesn't follow the ending that he's saying the ending is. Because the
So
Ruin
like
DLC, well, we know that the Ruin
the
DLC
one where he kills Afton.
kills Afton. He might. I
How do you
don't
kill
know.
Afton?
It's the ending to Security Breach.
Can we watch
No,
that?
no, no, because him killing Afton would make sense in the final part because now Peg Trap can do whatever they want to.
The place is falling down, and then Afton gets dragged away by the blob. Supposedly dead, or maybe just being tormented. And Gregory and Glamrock Freddy quote-unquote escape.
Oh, from like the entire Pizzaplex.
Yeah, the
like
entire
the entire Pizzaplex like burns down?
At least in that one it does. It at least gets destroyed. I don't think it all burns down, because... I don't know. One of the endings, I think maybe it's the VIP ending is the one that Ruin picks up on. I don't know. Because all I know in Ruin...
You'd also just look it up. Wait, does he have a newest video about it? Check.
Well, I know he does have some
He's
Ruined
bound to.
videos, but I don't think it... Yeah, we do have Why You Hate My Theories FNAF. We got FNAF Bonnie's Haunted Past. Freddy's Gong, FNAF Burned and Forgotten. Game Theory FNAF The AI Uprising. Hang on, wait, Just Dance has lore? Just looking at all of these like videos is so
Good
fun.
versus Evil.
Good versus Evil, yeah.
The FNAF I Solved Ruin.
Yeah, I think I've seen this
We
one.
should probably watch that one after we watch the end.
Yeah, how long have I been streaming? An hour and 40? Alright, we'll maybe watch that one. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
He might just end it
Franchises
after
here in
this.
2023. Year of Fazbear
Okay,
Frights, by the way.
that's
As
fine.
always, it wouldn't be right for me to
We
finish
got the
without
main
going over some of the
timeline,
more
all except for
controversial
Ruined.
takes that I
And
just
like the
handed
first
out. I think
movie's
we
not
can
gonna
all
get to
agree that
Ruined,
this
let's
part
be
of the
real.
timeline was always gonna be the hardest. So
I
let's
hope
just
not.
break down some of
I
the major
hope,
points.
really hope
First of all,
not, Jesus. Could you imagine how dumb the movie would be if it just gets straight to Ruined?
Yeah, no, that would be very
Alright.
stupid.
the biggest swing of this episode.
How far
and
do you think it's
obviously
gonna
the
go
one
up
that
to?
everything
Probably
else-
like 3 or 4.
I think it'll just literally be like FNAF 1, maybe FNAF 2, but yeah.
Yeah, fellas.
Okay.
Good night, Isaac.
Like all 5 nights? Like, geez.
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 different nights of FNAF 1. That's what I
Actually?
think it'll be. That's what I think it'll be, yeah, because there's definitely multiple nights. We didn't see anything that's like
Okay,
was
yeah.
suggesting FNAF 2 besides like posters on the walls. And like FNAF 2
So,
and FNAF 1 are on the same time.
I think
anyways.
they're gonna do like 2 to 3 nights of FNAF 1, and then 2 to 3 nights of FNAF 2, because it's like an hour 50-minute movie. So
Yeah, but like, why wouldn't it just be all in FNAF 1?
that makes sense, but they kind of need to condense it. You know
But
what
like,
I'm saying?
but like, haven't you seen like the trailer? There's literally no references to FNAF 2. Like, there's no locations.
Oh wait, maybe it's background and FNAF 1. Like background information about William, and then FNAF 1.
Well, yeah, William Afton's in it as Springtrap.
Yeah.
We know that. So I guess it technically, I don't know. It's gonna be weird. I think it'll be up to FNAF 3 actually. You might be right, because Springtrap's probably gonna die by the end. Williams Afton's gonna die by the end.
Upon Mrs.
You're right,
Afton
you're right.
being the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment LLC. Here's why I went with this route. Now, first and foremost, the head of Fazbear Entertainment is the single biggest mystery that we're meant to solve at this point in the lore. The Ultimate Guide brings it up repeatedly. Who's running the show? Who is okaying these decisions? And in the security breach memos, we get multiple mentions of someone manipulating things from the top down. Whoever this is, they are the person driving forward every other facet of late-stage FNAF lore here. They're the puppet master who's hiring the indie dev. They're the ones relaunching the brand, building the Pizzaplex over the burial ground. So everything at the end of the timeline relies on
Burial
this
ground.
one singular answer. Now, as I see it, there are 2 possibilities here. One, an adult robot Elizabeth, like we see older versions of robot kids in the 4th closet, or Mrs. Afton. Could it be someone completely new to the franchise? Absolutely yes, but in a game with so many returning faces and repeated themes, it would be pretty random and arbitrary. So, between these 2 girl bosses, who then would it be? Well, Elizabeth always wants to please her daddy, so she'd be most likely likely wanting to bring him to life. But then, what's Vanessa's role in all of this? Vanessa is clearly meant to be a parallel for Elizabeth. Same hair, same eyes, similar backstories, but if the main goal is getting the Afton family back together, which seems to clearly be the case in Security Breach, then there's no need for Vanessa to be involved at all. We already have Elizabeth running the show.
Wait.
It would also mean that we suddenly have...
What if Elizabeth is Vanessa?
No, that's not how that works.
Yes.
We know Vanessa's not Elizabeth. We know that she's like supposed to take the place of Elizabeth, but literally in FNAF VR, we know Vanessa is like an actual person. FNAF AR and VR prove that Vanessa is an actual person.
But how did they prove that she's an actual person?
Dude, I don't know. Okay, so in FNAF AR, there's emails that Vanessa gets talking about how she Googles how to get rid of the virus. Like she's talking about self-compliance and like how to brainwash someone. She Googles that and she gets emails about it. And in FNAF VR, she literally records the tapes that you listen to in order to see Glitchtrap. She was recording those tapes in order to warn you about Glitchtrap. And if she was Elizabeth, she would not want to warn you about Glitchtrap.
Okay, I know that makes sense. Never mind. I'm being stupid.
Yeah. And she tells you about all like the elaborate cover-up stuff as well. So she, yeah.
He is Glitchtrap's #1 op.
Yeah, that's basically it, yeah. Alright, now to actually figure it out, Astral Spiff Lore. This is the real FNAF that we need to worry about.
Okay.
Hang on. The truth about the Pizzaplex. Here it is.
Sometimes the lows of bipolar
How long is it?
21 minutes. Is that good?
Okay, so this is the better
this is the better
Breach
lore.
lore video.
Don't worry about the I'm making this for memes and it's an absolute mockery of the lack of proper storytelling and security based. That being said, I didn't try to make it at all sense. Alright, it's actually the real lore. This is the real lore. It's the real lore, guys.
It's been a month, and the masters have shown their hand. But the points they make
Real.
rely on an insane assumption that the game came out working as normal, telling a predestined story that's been in the works for years, but the reality is simply that it isn't. It's a beautiful beast characterized by cut content and bugs, and nothing is as it seems. I have over 150 hours in the game, all of which in some way have been moving towards discovering the truth.
It was all on purpose.
Actually,
It was
a
all
PR
real.
stunt.
It was all
and
real.
what secrets it holds, and who's
It's
It was
just
for a
like
PR stunt.
It's just like the Sonic the Hedgehog original
I'm not
movie.
here to make guesses or stretch information to meet my agenda. I far prefer to look at things as they're presented at face value, to try and capture the true spirit of
That's
Five Nights at
hilarious.
Freddy's.
I love it. I love security.
Why did this screwdriver
Gigamonty.
allow me to travel back in time to
Gigamonty.
resurrect Monty? Why is the Mapbot jump scare easily the scariest in the game? Why is this Monty the deadliest thing in the game? Does Vanny hold any significance at all, considering it's a rarity that we see her? How can the
Why is
animatronics
Monty
teleport?
Gigamonty?
What do each of the 6 endings
Do you want me to actually
mean?
explain it to you?
Yes.
Alright. Oh, I've watched all the Astral Smith videos. I actually know.
I
Spotlight
have too, I
Monty.
just don't understand.
Spotlight Monty is only designed to sit still and look at you when you aggro an animatronic, because he's supposed to position the spotlight towards you. However, once you deload the area, the animatronics do not deload, so he just falls to the ground. And then when you reload the area, it checks the Spotlight Monty. If there isn't, it loads another one, so you can duplicate him. And the Monties that fall to the ground still stand still, but when they are forced to look at you when you aggro, they also have the code that runs towards you, but they also have no de-aggro code. They're the most simplistic Monty, which makes them the most deadly Monty.
Oh, because they'll just keep on running at you.
They keep running at you
indefinitely?
because they're not smart enough to stop running at you.
That's actually hilarious.
I know,
Didn't
right?
he get a Gigamonty tattoo?
He did, and I love it. Hang on, I wonder if I can.
What
see
does it look like?
It literally looks like Chad, but with Gigamonty on his head. Astral Spiff Gigamonty tattoo images. There it is.
Oh, yep, that's.
He put that on his body.
Yep, that's pretty funny.
It's actually epic. Oh yeah, is this actually? This actually is it. Actually, no, this isn't it. It's the same image, but it's not. It's not that. It's not him.
It's like a temp tattoo.
How many people have lied to you about how the VIP ending works? And how many times is Afton going to come
How many people
back?
have lied to you how the
I'm not
VIP
here to
ending
offer
works?
speculation. I'm here to provide answers.
What even is the
No
VIP
longer
ending?
must we rely-
It's an ending where that you requires. It was meant to be required you get all gold plushies, but instead you need like a certain amount of of collectibles that are not story related. But it's not all the collectibles because of a glitch in the code.
Rely on fan theories to construct an image in our minds of what's really going on, because my information is coming straight from the source. Though many people have read the books, I've played the game. The game starts with Freddy passing out and falling over on stage, presumably because Gregory has messed something up inside of him. But this isn't true. Do you really think that Freddy could have gone this first few minutes of showtime without noticing anything? And can you possibly imagine the crew who dragged him back to his room not checking his stomach hatch for an idea of what's up? Definitely not. Gregory got inside of Freddy after he returned to his room. Freddy was hacked by an external source while on stage. Someone who had access to the Pizzaplex
just talking about the plot holes.
Intricate knowledge of animatronic systems.
I mean, not really.
Someone who's been
right.
hiding
Not really.
for a long time,
Kind of.
slowly learning. And for that matter, who's running the Pizzaplex anyway? The only staff we know of are the bots, Vanny/Vanessa, and maybe Afton. Someone or something is in charge of helping the animatronics
Afton, right?
teleport to Gregory every time he's seen by a staff.
Yeah.
It isn't them. They are simple performers. But Freddy too can also teleport, despite being on the
Vanessa's
side
like
of Gregory.
7
There's
at
a being
best,
pulling the
Gregory.
strings and toying with Freddy, Gregory, and the others. Or there is a power struggle going on between two powerful individuals. One wanting to prevent Gregory from escaping the Pizzaplex and learning the truth, and the other trying to help him escape, or using him to push their own agenda. The Pizzaplex isn't as simple as it seems. Something I've learned from tearing it apart with my bare hands like wet Play-Doh. They say the power is redirected to allow the animatronics to charge once an hour, and yet you can freely charge Freddy without influencing the power of other systems throughout the Pizzaplex, and without advancing time. So, this means that either charging doesn't require as much time and energy as we thought, or maybe time itself isn't what we think it is in the Pizzaplex. Let me ask you a question. If all Gregory and Freddy had to do was make it to 6 a.m. for Gregory to escape, what would have been the most logical solution? Well, hide in Freddy's penthouse, of course. They could have vibed through the night without a hitch, and Gregory could have simply left in the morning. Unless Freddy knew that time wouldn't flow as one might expect.
Gasp!
The series time has flowed as intended, with the player needing to survive a limited night cycle. So what's different about the Pizzaplex? Time doesn't progress naturally. Instead, time is assigned to items and actions in game, and in no particular order for that matter. Escaping the vent is 11:30 p.m. Getting to the front door is midnight. Pizzabot time of death is 1:30 a.m. Screwdriver is 2 a.m. and so on. It doesn't matter what time it is. The screwdriver is always 2 a.m. and the head is always 5:15. Whoever is trying to kill Gregory has a lot to lose, because the Pizzaplex is capable of time travel. And that's where Moon comes into play. After showtime, Freddy is taken down by a Moon Man and dragged off. Something incredibly glossed over in the game. But why would this ever happen? Besides a stern warning from Vanessa, all the animatronics seem free to explore as they please. Well, allow me to show you a clip from my stream.
TD Moonman. Oh.
Catman.
Catman. We got time police Moonman. If you time travel, you die.
Real.
This is lore accurate, guys. This is canon.
Moonman instantly killing me after I advanced time to get to 6 a.m. early. And it gives us a glimpse into what he really is. You wouldn't expect the daycare attendant to be allowed to leave the daycare. That makes no sense, unless there was a specific purpose for it. Unless Moonman was also trying to stop Gregory from discovering the time
kiting the
secrets of
Moonman.
Pizzaplex.
Yeah.
We call him TVA Moonman, Time Variance Authority. Constantly
TVA.
on the hunt, always trying to catch and stop anyone who dares mess with the timeline. If you ever dare time travel out of order into a time when he's allowed to come out, he'll get you. Because somehow he knows what you've done. Just like the TVA getting alerted of a variant, Moon knows. And he'll hunt you down until you fix
I didn't know the TVA was an actual thing.
So let's return to this.
Real.
Getting in the charging station sets the time to 2:55 a.m. and getting into the next room sets the time to 3:15. If Freddy had made it into charge and you'd progressed into the parts and service repair bay, 20 minutes would have passed like that, breaking the illusion of the natural passage of time. So TVA Moonman had to step in, forcing the player to go through Stupid Vent and face the Endo's maintains
Stupid
the illusion.
Vent.
There's no doubt the Pizzaplex is powerful. It's likely that whoever this is has been kidnapping children like Gregory, perhaps to use them to destroy the Pizzaplex or
Could be.
expose its secrets,
Mhm.
hacking Freddy to help them. And this is whoever is really running the Pizzaplex, to preserve its power for themselves and their goon squad. I've of course figured it out
Goon
through
squad.
extensive testing. So, Lydia.
I can already tell you
What'd
who's
think of
who's
the
at the
theory so
top.
far?
It's
It's
Gigamonti.
Gigamonti.
It's pretty good, right?
Lydia.
Look, I know things haven't been great between us, Lydia, but we used to get along so well. Don't you remember those days, Lydia? I'll make you understand, Lydia. I'll explain who's really on top of the Pizzaplex. You'll see. But before we get to that, let's look
Okay.
over a few other
The
oddities
pause
within the
screen.
Pizzaplex.
Love the
To
pause
prove
screen.
that time is relative and nothing is as it seems. Lowering voice
Yes.
volume skips all audio cutscenes immediately, because even sliders affect time. Falling out of the world places you back inside because the only way out is to force a time of day. It seems that the Pizzaplex exists floating in its own dimension. Perhaps that is how it's been able to escape the law all this time, by moving freely between this void dimension and reality. If you
What
play
the
Security
hell?
Breach up to any point, save somewhere, and decide to start a new game, you don't get a new game. Instead, Gregory's cycle is restarted within the same world. I know this because if you die in the new playthrough without saving, you'll be sent to the other playthrough instead of starting at the beginning of the game. There are no differing save files, only one world where Gregory's trying to escape and someone is trying to prevent him
No.
from finding the truth.
No way.
But
No.
well, let's take a look at the source. Let's see what Steel Wool had to say
It's
in
Helpy.
their only message
It was
after
Helpy.
launch, addressing the issues found within the game. If you allow some humor for a moment, early on in development, MapBot caused more bugs than any other character in the game, and despite my constant requests to throw him in a volcano, the team wouldn't let me.
Mapbot!
Gave you the most trouble?
It was him all along.
Mapbot?
No.
Gave you the most problems?
Oh my god.
Mapbot.
No.
The most functional part
There's
of
no
this
way.
video game. That I have yet to see have any error, glitch, mistake.
Oh wait, there are bugs
problem,
though that
and
involve Mapbot still.
was the most challenging part of the game. Either
They
this
didn't know
is
about the time. I
outright
forgot.
lie,
That's funny.
Or the problems that Mapbot had weren't development related, but story related. How did we miss this?
Story related.
Which is the only character who can spawn in on their own record and always catch Gregory? Mapbot, who works against Gregory by providing the shittiest map known to humanity that has no markings on it and can't be zoomed in on.
That is true.
Mapbot, who would have the intelligence and technical ability to run the Pizzaplex, teleport the animatronics, and control the staff bots, all while hiding in plain sight and setting up an already dead Afton to pose as the enemy while he maintains full control of permanent youth and strength by abusing time travel. The only bot
Real.
who doesn't get dirty. The only bot who knows who you are. The only one whose allegiance no one ever questions. For the first time in the nearly decade-long history of FNAF, the developers threw the truth in our face at launch and we missed it. It's all Mapbot. And it
Lay
always
end.
has been. He owns TVA Moonman. He controls the teleports, the staff bots, and the Pizzaplex as a whole, all while plaguing Vanessa's mind in an attempt to control and defeat his only adversary, Vanny. If Freddy doesn't get hacked at the start of the game, we all know what would have happened if he found Gregory.
Yachty.
We've seen it before. It's Vanny who hacked into Freddy and turned him onto Gregory's team. Why else would she be hiding out in the Pizzaplex with access to a computer setup that
Oh my god, it all makes sense
looks
now.
vaguely like my room? There's also evidence
That
of this
vaguely
in the
looks like
therapy
my
session
room.
recordings.
And I'm surprised by your knowledge of computers. You're something of a phenom. Do you know what that word means?
Why does that actually look like an okay clip of Security Breach?
Because Security Breach looks
She's
It looks
Vanessa. Mapbot torments her mind.
'Cause
and
what?
turns her
Security
against
Breach does
Gregory.
not look that good.
Like when Mapbot guided Vanessa to Gregory.
But
we
it
had to
looks like
bring
the
him in
most
to the
finished out of
screwdriver
all
on
of the parts
55 as to
of
not
Security
break the
Breach.
illusion.
It was a
I'm not even
wall.
lying.
Time.
Exactly.
But her mind is clear as Vanny, and just like
To be
the
fair, though,
trailer
Ruined was
suggested,
really hard to break. It took more than a day this time to break it fully. Do you find that funny as I do? Where like Security Breach, like literally, it was brand new. It took less than a day to break, and then Ruined, they broke it, but not nearly as bad as they broke Security Breach.
Yeah.
Gregory, we can get you out of here. You and me together.
she is trying to help Gregory.
Oh, yeah, the scrapped
The
voice line.
first person's
kidnapping
playthrough
kids like
who
Gregory,
watched was
it's
Astral
likely that
Spiff's
she isn't
playthrough because I
necessarily
was like,
trying
oh,
to
I'm just
help
waiting for
Gregory
Astral Spiff to
escape,
put out a
but
video
instead
of
use
this.
him for her
I ain't
own
watching
agenda.
Markiplier,
But
except
either
okay,
way,
all
she
those
keeps him safe
guys,
from
nah,
Mapbot.
screw that.
Yeah,
Astral
Astral
Spiff for
Spiff,
life.
bro.
Just like
Astral Spiff for
Mapbot
life.
teleports animatronics on Gregory's
I'd watch
floor,
Astral Spiff more than I watch
Vanny
Markiplier, I
teleports
think,
Gregory
now.
to save him. On the few occasions
Yeah, I
where
think
we
so,
do
too.
see Vanny, why do you think she's always behind Gregory? She's never in the way, but she knows that fear is a driving force, so she comes from behind Gregory, scaring him forward to complete his goal.
I forgot she runs
prompting
sometimes.
him to pick up the screwdriver, finish showtime.
What? She
It's
just
so
straight
cursed.
throws
Yeah, look,
it?
she runs there.
Vanny and Mapbot are
It's
like
the most
a
cursed
struggle
animation
for
ever.
Power over the Pizzaplex, and it's time.
She like, goes from walking
like when
casually
Vanny
to just
tries
go.
to take Freddy somewhere like El Chips, where Mapbot
Oh, yeah,
is more
Quantum
powerful.
Freddy.
You can see the teleporting struggle between them, something that I've coined as Quantum Freddy. But while Mapbot wants control and to live forever, it's the complete opposite for Vanny. The therapy tapes reveal a very troubled girl.
He said he would always be watching. He could be here.
Or 2. Given the time travel potential of the Pizzaplex, it's not absurd to assume that Vanny and Vanessa are simultaneously individuals, but are still the same girl, differing in motives and character, but having been split by timelines. Vanessa has lived in turmoil, constantly being toyed with as Mapbot threatened her and watched her every move, constantly bending her towards his will. While
It all
Vanny
makes
has
sense
vowed to
now.
get revenge on Mapbot and the Pizzaplex
So if
by
she's
hacking Freddy and
so if
abducting
she's
children to
Vanessa,
use
then
in
we're in the
effort to
main
take them down.
universe. But
Gregory
if she's
is just
Vanny, we're in the
that.
different
A
dimension.
poor, abducted, likely
Exactly.
homeless child with no connection to the story other than being wrapped up in
Makes
Vanny's
sense.
plans. Vanny can't do it
Wait,
herself
how much is
because
longer in
Mapbot
this
can track
video?
her too easily.
Oh my god.
9 minutes, bro. What's wrong?
I just want to go to bed. Nah, I'm going to bed. I can't even.
All right. Good night. Good night.
Alright, good night. Good night.
Welp, I guess that's it, everybody. Thank you all for learning the lore with me. We did this for 2 hours, which is surprising. We learned a lot of lore today. Just so you know, I did have a reason to watch all this, because in 2 days, FNAF movie is gonna be released, and I'm gonna watch it with with a bunch of my friends. A few of them were even here on the voice call with me today. We're gonna watch it at 10 p.m. It'll be very scary, I hope. So thank you guys so much for watching. I might stream tomorrow, so watch out for that. I might stream a Five Nights at Freddy's game. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you late then. Bye-bye. I'm going to wait 5 seconds to make sure that my bye-bye gets through before I stop streaming. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bye-bye again, just in case.